indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. Now, the reason we started this meeting early today was to discuss the 537 plan as it pertains to decoving with Sean Arbaugh and he brought an associate, David Gates, along. So with that, I'm gonna let Sean tell me what he's thinking and what we're looking at here.
Okay. Well, thank you. I appreciate you guys inviting me up to the meeting and starting it early and everything to accommodate me, and also for asking your solicitor to step out for an hour. So I know that was probably tough for him. But yeah,
the engineer did.
Our attorney doesn't travel well at night, so they want you to come in there to our office if we had an attorney involved. So I appreciate that. The reason we're here is because back in 2001, we approved an Act 537 plan, which is sitting right here. And in the plan, one of the things that was required of the plan was to take the Coven wastewater treatment plant offline and connect it to public sewers. Through the years, we've had numerous pieces of correspondence with the township. Back in 2008, we asked you guys to give us a schedule to implement that part of your Act 537 plan, and we didn't really receive a response. We received a not real good response from Penn Township, the borough of
The township.
Yeah, from the township. Okay. Then back in 2009, we again contacted Penn Township and asked them to give us a schedule to connect the Coven facility, take it offline, and connect it to public sewer. And we did receive a response from that one from the attorney, Dennis Shadow, saying that he doesn't think that the plan said that it should be connected in the plan and everything along those lines. So we disagree with that, and for some reason or another, this fell through the cracks for a few years. When it was brought to my attention back in October, first thing we did is we kind of looked at the history of the facility, and we looked at past correspondence in the 537 plan and determined that you guys are required by your 537 plan to connect that facility to public sewers. A lot of violations at the facility, and I will provide you a copy of an order that was issued to Mr. Ward on December 6th. The order lists a number of violations dating back to 2006, I believe, when a permit initially expired. Permit for the DeCoven facility expired back, I think it was November 1st, 2006. Since that time, we haven't been able to get the permittee to submit a renewal application or comply with the rules and regulations of our NPDES permit program. He's missampling, he's had violations, he's not had certified operators for periods of time, just non-compliance all around, and not able to comply with our regulations. So we issued him an order to submit a permit application so that he is authorized to discharge until he gets connected to public sewer. So that's kind of one of the reasons we're out here today. The Coven facility is also in very poor shape. The tank's steel, it's rusted, it's been in place for a number of years, and it's just not in very good condition any longer. Pipes are rusted through. There's some patchwork done to it, some temporary fixes out there, but the sewage plant needs replaced or needs to be eliminated, and that's why we're here.
Okie doke. This municipal authority does have does disagree with part of what you just said. Now, we have and we've always maintained that our position is we will provide the capacity for that property. And
Okay.
we have communicated to the present owner and the previous owners that the capacity is there. However, it's their responsibility to get to our main. All right? Now, that being said, in what year was 2000? I'm not too sure, when did we do do the cove low pressure thing, 2002? 2001? We
Low
ran,
pressure, that's,
yeah, we ran up to, I'm gonna say within maybe 10 feet of that property line.
Okay. Wow.
Alright. So he has that much less pipe that he has to put in
Okay.
there. So
And you have capacity in that low pressure line?
yes, we do. Yes, we do. We can take him. We've told him we can take him, and we've communicated with him and, like I say, the previous owners that the capacity is there. However, it's incumbent upon them, and financially incumbent upon them, to get to us. I mean, put yourself in our position. If I do that, if the municipal authority does that for one developer, the next developer that comes into township is going to expect the same thing, and I think that's an unfair burden to be putting on our customer base. For somebody else to make money, why should we, you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, approximately how far from the treatment plant is the line? I mean, just a rough guess.
Rough guess, 300 feet? 150 yards?
not 300 feet.
150
Yeah,
yards?
Be close, about a football field, yeah.
Yeah, somewhere in that
Be
neighborhood,
close,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And if the treatment plant is as bad a shape as it is, it's going to take a pump station in there. All right.
I mean, there's no way for that to be a gravity flow system. It's not, there's no way practical that can be an upgraded system too.
Well, as far away from our plant as it is, there's no way it can.
And it's at a
no way
lower
it can
elevation.
be.
Okay.
We just, the elevations just don't match. So we have to go low pressure in there.
What's your minimum connection distance?
I'm sorry?
What's your minimum connection distance?
For a business is, what is it, business ed?
3,000 feet,
3,000 feet for a business.
if it's over 5 EDUs.
Yeah. What would you say how many EDUs approximately is down there?
I
Well-
think there's approximately 15
15
or
units.
so. I'm guessing.
Rental units and stuff.
I think the plan initially says 17 EDUs,
Yeah.
so very build out
I think there's
capacity.
approximate that way.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sitting
Yeah.
here trying to count it in my mind here a couple different times. I know they've made
Right.
some changes down there.
Right.
I know years ago, it used to have a whole trailer park on it, and they rolled that whole thing back years and years ago,
Okay.
because I lived just up the hall.
And that's one of the reasons why they put that treatment plant in there, to take care of the trailer park.
Okay.
There where the recycling center is right now.
Okay.
It used to be a trailer park.
You don't have a map available, do you, to show like a connection point or anything?
Well, you want to be an engineer.
I didn't say you. I said I'd say you could bring the engineer. Yeah, this might. I don't know if this
Right
way
here
is
you
helpful
go.
or not.
I hear. Oh, here you go. Here's the treatment.
Okay.
And then we come to here.
Okay.
All right? This property line is right, I think it's right in this area right here.
Gotcha. Okay.
All right, we come here.
Okay. That helps put in
All
perspective.
right, well, 610 feet it says.
10 feet from the pump station to the end of the existing line. Okay.
Yeah. May I make a copy of that?
That would be excellent. Yes, that would be good.
Thank you. Thank you, Cece.
You're welcome.
Yeah, this is the lower end.
Okay.
This is what we're talking about's up here.
Okay.
The properties that are connected, are there properties that the Coven doesn't own that are connected to that facility?
That's correct. No, wait.
They do own.
I'm sorry. DeCoven, the owner of DeCoven owns everything that's in that.
Everything that's connected to the treatment?
Yeah, I misunderstood what you were
Okay.
saying. The properties on that low pressure line going up there are individual property owners, separate from Mr. Ward?
Yes.
Is that your name? Yeah,
But there aren't any.
there are no private properties in there connected to that facility, correct?
Correct.
So Sean, what's your next step with Mr. Ward?
Well, our
Is
next
he-
step is to see if he complies with the order. He has till January 15th to submit the permit application. If he gets that in and that is technically and administratively complete, we'll pursue a penalty against Mr. Ward for his noncompliance.
Okay.
If it's not complete, if we don't get an application by January 15th, we're going to petition the court to enforce our order. That would be our next
So
step.
that ought to force him to come see us, you think? Huh?
Yeah, we're going to have a conversation with him that will assist him with reduction in penalties if he works with you guys to get connected as quick as possible. We want to see it connected. That's what it needs to happen. Thank you so much. So our next step with the covenant is that's how we're going to handle those guys. As far as unfortunately, Sam, I have to disagree with you, and you guys are required to connect the facility. Sewage is a municipal responsibility. Sewage within the borders is the township responsibility to deal with. This facility has had some issues. It's not a pristine running facility. Even if it was, they are required in their NPDES permit to also connect to municipal sewage facilities. Looking through the plan, when I look through it, you guys talk about financing and that you're going to be responsible for the financing, the Penn applications, and connecting this and to implement the plan. That was one.
So we're gonna have to take out a loan to connect this property? Is that what I just heard you say?
If that's what it's necessary to connect the property.
We're not gonna go in private property and we can't do that. Can't go in private property and just.
Well, I think
Somebody else.
you got another option there. You can just flat shut him down. He don't need to be in there. You know, I mean, put yourself. I can't justify going up to my customers and saying, hey, I have to raise your rates because I got to connect Mr. Ward. So then Mr. Ward says, okay, you know what? That's great. I'm going to make a ton of money because you've connected me, and I ain't going to give you back anything. And my customers are sitting back having to pay that bill.
Well,
There's something wrong with that.
Right. What I expect is that you guys would bill Mr. Ward according to what it took to make that sewage happen in that area, or make the tap-in fee such that it would pay for the township to install the line or whatever is needed to make that sewage connection happen.
A few years back, if I'm not mistaken, I think we got a tentative price to put that in there. It would cost us $500,000 to put that in there to do that.
Okay.
There's no way he's going to be able to pay our rates for us to recoup $500,000.
I was looking through some of your meeting minutes from past meetings, and the price that I saw was $70,000 or less, depending on where you can make a connection happen at. So I think that is reasonable for 17 EDUs to
Yeah,
connect.
but that didn't take into consideration all the I&I and all the inflow that's going to be coming in from there. He has terracotta pipe that's feeding that, and they leak like a sieve, and that's going to have to be addressed too. And then once we take it over, then it's going to be our responsibility to upgrade that pipe too.
And he's also going to be paying you guys a sewage, monthly fee for handling that sewage.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we've come to a point where this needs to happen. It's been 12 years since your plan has been submitted and approved. Your implementation schedule said that it would take 40 months from that approval date. That date is come and gone and well beyond that time frame. What I came out here tonight is to ask you guys to work with us and get in the schedule on your schedule, something that we can agree to make that connection happen.
Well, we can work with you on that. We can do that.
Somebody needs to work with Mr. Ward.
Yeah, and
Get him off his duff.
There's no way.
We can't march in on private property and just start digging around and put pipes in.
There's no
Ain't
way.
no way.
Yeah, And there's no way that we can give you a decision tonight as to what we're going to do.
Oh,
You
that's
know what I
fine.
mean?
I don't expect you to.
But now I heard your position, you know ours.
Right.
So then we'll have to work from there. And we're yet to hear what Mr. Ward's position is. So, and like I say, we've communicated with Mr. Ward, and what's the guy, I forget what the guy's name was that owned it prior to him. And we've told him, and Mr. Dersham owned it there before. He's the third one back. We've talked to all of them and told them, you know, that it was available. This is whenever you started, you know, DEP started getting involved with that. And to date, none of them has come up to talk, discuss anything with us. Not a one.
Roughly, if they were to come to you and say, we want to connect, I mean, what kind of tap-in fees are we looking at?
$3,500 per EDU. Per EDU. $60 a month rental per EDU.
Do you do a bulk customer rate at all, or is it just per EDU?
Per EDU.
What's your flow in an EDU?
150 gallon day.
Yes, Stanley, you had a question?
The DEP gentleman, yeah. Somebody's running an illegal plant,
Right.
and you expect the township and municipal authority to hook them up.
I do. The municipal authority said in its plan that it's going to connect this facility. It didn't fulfill.
It makes a statement in there that it says it will be hooked up by a grinder pump.
You know, I didn't. Back in 2001, I wasn't here working on this case, but one of the things a letter was sent approving the plan, and I mean specifically in the plan it says that the DeKalb facility will be taken offline, and it will be connected to co-facility by a low-pressure sewer and a pump station.
Don't sound like it tells you that it's us doing it. It suggests that it says it will be done, but it does not say the authority's going to do it.
Again, sewage within the side of a municipality is the responsibility of the municipality. That's why you guys are on the hook for it. It's mentioned in your plan. What I'm going to offer you guys is essentially one or two choices. You can say, no, Sean, we think you're wrong. We think DEP is wrong in this instance, and that is your right to do, absolutely. If that's the case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to order the township to connect the facility. At that point, you guys have rights to appeal that order. If you can't appeal it, some orders you can't appeal if they're implementing something you have in your 537 plan. That will be up to your attorney to advise you guys on that legal matter. The other option is to work with us on a schedule to connect the facility in a consent order, consensual agreement that says we'll make the connection happen, and here's the time frame that we are able to do it in. And,
when do you need to know? When do you need to know our decision? Obviously, we're not going to be able to make that decision tonight.
What I'll do, I assume you want to have another meeting about this, so what I'll do is I'll send you a letter, go out in the mail Monday. I'll give you until your next meeting, I believe you said was February
6th.
So approximately 30 days to February 7th or shortly thereafter for a response back.
Okay.
So at that point, you guys can discuss it. I'll outline kind of the options as we see them in there.
Okay.
Since you've been out reading our minutes and everything else, did you also read in there that due to us being able to furbish the capacity to that property, we have other expenses involved pertaining to that?
I didn't read that part.
Well, they're in there with that too. I think you ought to read that because we do have other expenses to guarantee that capacity. We have the ability to furbish that capacity, but with a considerable cost at the present moment. That's above and beyond what you already see there.
Okay.
So I think if you're going to force it down the ratepayers' throats, you better make sure that we know what you're expecting, and it's going to get pretty expensive on the ratepayers. Okay? I'm not too happy about the situation. I feel that we are responsible to supply the capacity to anybody. And we're doing our full endeavor. We have done that. We've already purchased other right-of-way and everything else to proceed to give this capacity to these people.
And in 12 years, how has that worked out?
Huh?
In 12 years, it hasn't worked out. So when is that going to work out? Ever?
No, we've done our part.
We've done our
It's the
part.
property owner who has not done their part, who is also the owner of that pump station. or that treatment plant.
Mhm.
I think that's where the responsibility ought to lie. That's where the pressure ought to be applied, not here. If he's not responded, and he's been given a deadline of January 15th, and we have roughly 2 weeks after that decision, are we gonna be notified of that decision? Because we have roughly 2 weeks from that time till our next meeting to come up with a solution for this. I don't think that's quite fair. And as a ratepayer, I think this is ridiculous.
It was listed in your 537 plan to connect this facility, and as part of when you're taking out grants, and I don't know how it came down when you did the sewer to Lower Cove area that this area was exempted. I don't know what decisions were made back then in 2001 to exempt that area, but it should have been connected back then.
All right, let me ask you this too. Since there has been some contact between DEP and that property owner for the last several years,
Yes.
just trying to keep track of the dates there as you were going, and their permit expired November the 1st of 2006.
That's correct.
Has anything been done? Any follow-up to any of that?
Our numerous employees have tried to work with him, and our follow-up is he won't work with us, so we had to issue an order. That's our follow-up.
But there's no court order to him that he has to do something, no pressure on that property owner, that owner of that plant in the last 6 years.
During my discussion with this owner, when he either does or doesn't submit his permit application, we're going to be talking about penalty liability. And when we start talking about penalty liability, I'm going to talk to him about connection to you guys to make that happen.
But I'm saying in the last 6 years, that you folks have known that his permit has expired up until this point.
Yes.
You folks have not applied any pressure to him that you need to do something, or we're ordering a court injunction on you, as you're coming in here tonight threatening us with.
I guess a couple of things. We've went out and inspected the facility. We've written violations up that he didn't have a permit, and it's to a point now where he told us, I'm working on getting a permit, and it's never come in. So at that point, we had to.
So in that case, then we could sit here for 6 years and say, yeah, we're going to work on this, and we'll be fine for 6 years because you've obviously done nothing in the last 6 years with that property owner.
We let you guys go 12 years, and we have been in contact with you on numerous occasions about this. So there shouldn't be a surprise. It really shouldn't be. I mean, back in 2001, we've sent you numerous letters stating our position that you guys need to connect this facility. Back in 2008 and 2009. So there shouldn't be a surprise that someday we were going to have to make a move, and it's been 12 years.
Well,
So.
I suggest you make a move against the person you need to make it against, and that's the property owner first. We're gonna do our part, but you gotta do your part to get him off his dead ass.
I'm working on it.
Yeah, this does not come as a surprise. What comes as a surprise is nothing being done on his behalf.
Mhm.
I mean, no pressure from you folks on him. That's the part that irritates me.
Well, the thing that surprises me is to come back and you say now it's incumbent upon us to make that connection. And he's the one that's going to benefit by that connection, not my customers, him. And that's what's hard for me to.
See, your customers do. I mean, maybe not your customers, but people as a whole. We don't have a liability sewage plant that could release or has been releasing untreated or inadequately treated sewage into the stream.
And
I mean, your
and
residents.
now I'm going to go. Now I'll go right back to that. Why don't you shut it down? Tell him you can't put it anymore. Shut it down. Shut down.
Because
You're
it's in
done.
your plan to sewer them. That's why.
I'm sorry.
It's in your plan to sewer that facility.
Well, that would make him come to us, would it not?
Yeah. I mean, we've tried to talk to the man. He won't talk to us. Same as he won't talk to you.
Right.
He won't talk to us. So somebody's got to get his attention somewhere along
Yeah,
the way.
I
And to
think
come to us and tell us, if he doesn't talk to you, you're going to make me, you're going to make the municipal authority connect you. That doesn't seem quite right. You
At the
know,
expense of the
and
rest of the residents of the
that doesn't
township.
That doesn't seem quite right. And that's my sticking.
Let me ask you something. When you run sewer by a home and they don't pay a tap-in fee, what do you guys do?
I'll put a lien on their property. I don't want that property.
I don't either.
No.
We have the
Let
right.
me tell you something. No, okay, this is strictly, this is where I'm coming from right
Okay.
now. 2001, we put that low pressure line in down there. It was mandated by DEP. You will put the low pressure line in Purdy's.
2006.
$6.5 million, all right? Help us out with this. No way. $6.5 million my customers have to pay and are still paying. If, my opinion, if a government agency mandates something, the government agency that mandates it should be willing to pony up a percentage to help the municipality or to help the people put it in. We got nothing from them, not a penny. I know why, but there was a couple personalities were clashing between this authority and DEP. That's why we didn't get any help. Now, that's one of the reasons why I want to work with you on this, because I'm hoping that it's going to try to mend some old fences, okay? But in the same token, there's no way I'm going to sit back and let my customers absorb a hit like this. Not without a squawk, anyway. So,
Yeah, and
you know, I mean, the chair of this authority is willing to work with DEP to get that line, that property online. And I'm hoping the rest of the authority is willing to work that way, but you got to bear in mind where we're coming from too. We have 400 other customers that we have to look after too.
And just from my perspective, I'll just give you guys a little bit of insight. You said you shut down the facility. That's not a particularly popular thing to do to anybody, and we reserve that for the most when we really need to do that. It's not something we want to ever do. We don't want to shut anybody down.
Neither is going to sheriff's sale.
That's right. That's right.
You know, I mean, we know what you're going through in that. So
right now, he does not have an NPDS permit from the department.
Okay.
So to force him to connect,
Well, maybe some penalties and some court orders following up would bring him to us, do you think, maybe?
I think so.
Well, that's what we need to do then.
I'm going to work on that angle. In an NPDS permit, there's language. I'll just pass this around to you guys. If I could just have this back, I actually can keep it if you want. There's a E. And E basically says that you're allowed to discharge from this facility until at times municipal sewage becomes available. I consider 10 feet from the property line pretty much available as it's going to be. This permit's expired. He doesn't have a permit, so that language currently is not applicable to him. I can't order him to do anything with this permit because he doesn't have a permit. My first step is I have to get him to get a permit so that I can enforce that language in the permit. Because he doesn't have an administrative extended permit, he is illegally discharging sewage right now.
So because he left his permit lapse, you can't enforce anything on him?
I can enforce our clean streams law on him. I can't enforce that NPDS permit. It's expired.
Boy, that's stupid.
That's what my attorney tells me anyways, so I have to listen to them. And that's why we ordered the Coven to get an NPDS permit, so we can enforce that. Because initially I had two orders drafted, one to Penn Township and one to the Coven. I wouldn't issue them the same day. It said you will connect and we'll figure it out what will happen, but it was gonna and then we ran into this little bit of an issue. So
Our normal protocols that we operate underneath when we have a connection, we require the system to be tested as close as possible to each operational unit, meaning what he had made the statement earlier about is that whole infrastructure is going to have to be satisfactory for us to accept this, okay?
okay.
So the end result's going to be, no matter what happens here, the way I see it is we still have the ability to not take on anything from that site because it's not compatible to our rules and regulations that we require each complex to accept. So you see what I'm trying to say here? Even no matter what happens here in regards to the grinder pump,
Mm-hmm.
until it's satisfactory that what goes into that system, no matter where it is, 10 foot from here, wherever it's at in that system, we will not accept it.
I mean, do you guys know they have I&I flow?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, how do you know that?
I used to be the operator.
That would explain it.
He was their last legal operator.
Okay,
All right?
okay.
I was this little, and that place was operating, and I'm 50 years old, so I have a pretty good idea, and I work in the pipe fitting trade, so I have a
Okay.
pretty good idea
No
what's
terracottas.
underneath the ground,
Okay.
okay? And I know what happens to it,
Okay.
okay?
And I think that's one reason that Dave brought up the bulk rate issue. Like, if you could charge people on a bulk rate, because you charge them for the I&I. If you charge
We
them,
could put a meter on that system,
and his incentive to
And-
reduce I&I is to.
and for every 150 gallons that's in there, that's an EDU, and if he has 150 EDUs coming out of 15 EDUs, that's his problem.
It's not really possible.
Do you
Due
allow?
to the lack of, there's a limited amount of capacity it's gonna be able to come out of this.
Mhm.
You know, that's,
So you can't exceed that capacity by I&I. So it needs to be a tight system. The capacity going into this is gonna be very limited above and beyond what he's asking for, or what we're gonna be able to put into him. Okay, so we
Yeah, you're
cannot
correct.
accept any more than a legitimate system. Or we're gonna be out of our parameters due to, you guys like engineers, due to engineering factors, okay?
As far as like a private grinder pump, is that something that you guys allow?
We've had, yeah,
I mean, do you have private, I mean,
we have apartment units that are on duplex grinder pumps. We have businesses that are on duplex grinder pumps. And we also have businesses that are gravity fed. You know, so yeah, we do allow the grinder pump there.
Yes, there would be, if your example, what your suggestion is, put one at each dwelling unit instead of one right at the complex. That would improve the I&I issue. Is that what you're kind of suggesting?
Depending on, well, I mean, there's several ways to do this, and what I've seen commonly in the past, especially with mobile home parks and authorities, you know, just to pick on mobile home parks, most authorities don't want to own, you know, their private collection system because of the I&I issues. Plus, they clog a lot. You know, it's on private property. They don't necessarily want to go in and dig on private property. So, I'm just trying to feel out what you guys accept, because if we go back and we talk to the board and we say, look, you know, here's the way we understand the options. Go to the authority, talk to them, but you know, what do you want to do? And the more options we have to kind of negotiate with him, the better off we are.
Right now,
if it comes to that.
we're in the process of discussing with another developer the installation of a quadruplex, 4 pumps.
Okay.
Now, that our system at the COVID won't handle the output from four pumps, but what Henry just alluded to there. But yeah, we do take the grinder pumps, and once it's installed, it's his responsibility. All our commercial grinder pumps or non-residential grinder pumps are the responsibility of the property owner for the maintenance and everything on it. So, but we do allow those, yes. We do have specifications as to what type of grinder pump we will accept.
We have a intensive rules and regulations book there, and developers installation, developer specifications and everything else. I mean, there's nothing that he can't get by looking at our books, and he knows exactly what it is. I mean, we have now it's an HDPE line
That's correct.
of a limited size up there. It has a capacity of a certain much. And
That's a
we-
2-inch line.
2-inch line out, and it's got the capacity to handle that and some, but not much. I forget what the exact number
I
is.
don't know exactly what the number is.
I don't think it's an extreme amount, and it's only because we're going to have to accommodate some other things down the line to make this work out. We have some things we have to do that's going to cost us substantially to make this work out, to hook into that line. Like I said, we have understood that this probably was going to happen at some time, and we've been proactive in addressing some other issues for the best interest of the community. We have not forgot about it, but we feel that we supply the capacity at the line.
It's like, let's use the development up here by Municipal's, the business campus one.
Okay.
All right, that had, I don't know how many EDUs it was allotted to that. But if our 8-inch line going up over the hill was not sized to capacity to do that,
Mm-hmm.
then it's incumbent upon the developer to remove it, to change that line from the 8-inch line to a 10 or a 12, whichever would accomplish that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what we're trying to do is trying to save millions additional monies by putting in what we're doing,
Mhm.
or where we're at. So, like I say, we've been proactive trying to work on this. It's just we have not communicated so efficiently with you. But as far as it continues to go back to Mr. Ward. It's his move, So like I say, we'll work with you. We'll try to get him online, but he's got to come to us and talk to us. He made a good point. I can't go dig a hole in his property. If I go dig a hole in his property, you're going to have to come bail me out.
Yeah, I don't want to see you going to jail. So,
There's right-of-way agreements. When the end thing is, generally what happens is if a process like this comes into play, they install it, it's all tested and met by our rules and regulations, and then upon the completion of it, we agree to take it over and maintain it and whatever, except for this case, grinder pumps like this are all going to be the responsibility of the complex.
mm-hmm.
Okay? But yes, we will take responsibility of the lines to the grinder pump upon the completion of it and everything, once it's met to our satisfaction of our inspections and our rules and regulations. I think our rules and regulations, we are very staunch in regards to controlling I&I. Once you break them rules and regulations down, and we start taking on everything else, we start losing control of the abilities of what's in the system, then we have problems in our treatment plant,
Mm-hmm.
and then we're in trouble with you folks again. So we're doing our best to make sure we have a good, tight, satisfactory, well-performing system to keep you happy on that behalf, and that's the reason that we want to make sure that we have a right thing hooked into it.
And I respect that. I think that's a good idea. You would definitely want to make sure that you don't have sanitary sewer overflows anywhere or anything like that. We have a treatment plant that is in very, very, very bad condition, and right now, it's duct taped in spots. It's not very good condition. Something needs to be done with it, and that's why, to avoid environmental issue, that's why we're here.
I understand
today.
that, and I sympathize for you folks being in the situation you're in too, but I think you need to understand where we are as an authority, looking out for the interest of the community,
Mhm.
and the way we're pretty staunch with everybody, hooking up and testing and everything else, and we aim to stick that way. We're not going to accept anything that's not going to be passing an air test. It's that simple. And
Have you guys hooked up other older properties such as this kind of property and anywhere?
Not like this. We have, down in Perdix, there's a lot of older homes down, residences, single residences.
Okay.
We have hooked them up, yes.
as close to the building as possible.
what we
Okay.
can. And we've also required them to do the air pressure tests on it to ensure that there's no I&I. And if there was I&I on the old pipe that they had to replace that pipe and get it up to snuff. Yeah.
Okay.
We have asked that.
Okay.
But we have nothing, not to this extent, where I'm looking at here, this is a pretty big area.
Yeah, I guess I never really saw the area. Okay.
The 10 feet from the end of your line to his property line, is that part of your easement?
I'm going to say, pardon me?
The 10 feet from the end of your line to his property line, is that part of your easement, or is that?
That's State Road,
Okay.
State Road 11 and 15, we need to get occupation permit to get in there.
Which side of, is it on the same
It's
side?
on the
of that
mountain
way?
side. Yeah, it's on the same side as
South
Deco.
side.
Okay.
Yes.
And you guys would be willing to enter that easement with PennDOT?
We would have to.
Right.
I mean, it's not whether we want to or not. PennDOT won't give it to anybody except us, and we're responsible for maintaining it right afterwards. In other words, if it sinks, they're coming back to me, they're coming back to Deco. Learned that the hard way.
I mean, probably the best thing to work out would be to work it all together. You know, however it comes out with the owner, you know, I mean, the way we're looking at it, the owner it would all be done at the same time, and we would work at our point to connect him up at that end. It is an HDPE line, so it could be something that could be drilled, minimum evasion, you know what I'm saying, tunneled out through all the way over there. But the idea is what's the rest of the infrastructure like?
Okay.
We always are falling back to the rest of the infrastructure, which gotta meet our rules and
You know, once
regulations.
you take the plant out of there, you still have to deal with the delivery system for
Sure.
lack of another term.
Sure.
I wouldn't wanna put a plug in the end that's coming in that treatment plant and have to test that system, guarantee it will pass. I'd have a better chance of going to the casino and winning some money than what I would for having that pass.
Okay. Okay.
So let us know how you make out with Mr. Ward. We'll get together. We'll have another meeting in February. You coming up?
Probably not, no.
See how you are. So, yeah, and we'll.
Okay, I'd recommend you guys reach out to Mr. Ward at this point. Also, soon, tell him that we had this meeting and that he's going to get connected one way or other, or something's going to happen with his property. I mean, if we order you guys to do it and you guys say we can't because the line's bad, I mean, you know, I don't know what we do at that point.
Okay.
I don't know how we move forward from that point, but I'll send a letter to you outlining the options as we see them, and I'm going to continue to work with Mr. Ward. Hopefully he gets his permit application in, we can issue him a permit, and then we can help order him to connect as part of his permit.
Our position ever since we've been in here is we'll gladly work with anybody who's willing to work with us.
Probably one of the hardest things we have done so far is with the mandating of hooking up stuff that we've had already, and the lack of going through legal ramifications to make things come together or turn around due to not paying their bills and everything else, is to go back on the ratepayer and proceed all the legal obligations. It's not one of the most satisfying things to do in life, especially when you're on a board that's all voluntary. We're here for the best interests of the community, and none of those actions have been taken with any pleasure at all within this board. We've had a lot of soul searching in each one of them, and it becomes very complicated. And if we get stung for any kind of outstanding money in something like this, the legal ramifications on our behalf are going to have an impact on the whole rate structure for everybody else, and we don't want to go there either. It's not fair for everybody. And I understand what you guys got to do. The same atmosphere, we have our side that we look at too, and everybody's got their own little focus point. I understand that. So,
well, I respect you guys, volunteers, that people love sewage as much as I do. That's great to see. And I understand the position you're in. That's why I came out here today before just sticking an order in the mail and never meeting anybody or saying anything. So that we could try to at least tell you kind of where we're going, and hopefully we can get into a consent order, get Mr. Ward on board, and get it done in a decent time frame. So I think that, and I think that can happen.
Well, I appreciate you coming up. I know you wanted to meet with us maybe Elmer and I separately and everything. I wanted everybody in the authority and whoever's here to hear firsthand how we're dealing with this, so, so there's nothing going on. So they don't get anything secondhanded, rumors start that way.
Sure, yeah, stuff, yeah, exactly, the whole whisper around the room thing.
Right, this is rumor control.
Right.
So I'm glad, I appreciate you coming up, appreciate you telling us what your thoughts are. We're looking forward to hearing from you.
Okay, I'll get you a letter out. I will keep you updated. I'll copy you on anything that goes to Coven. That way you know what the situation is. I ask that you guys do reach out and contact him. And maybe we can just work out where we don't even need anything. We can have it worked out. That would be great. But I think you guys had some difficulties dealing with him in the past, and as have we. So.
Yeah.
So.
We'll do what we can.
Hopefully it's not a long struggle.
We'll do what we can. I appreciate you coming by.
Thanks for your time.
Anybody else have any questions or anything before we head out?
I did. If authority's forced to connect to property, does the DEP have any way to allow us to go after the property owner for the additional expenses of connecting that property?
That's what you just said.
I think that would be, and maybe Dave, I don't know if you could answer this one, but municipalities could.
I mean, in other words, normally our tapping fee is $3,500.
Right.
And stuff.
Yeah.
In this particular instance, is there some way to, I'm just asking, regulate or change the tapping fees to reflect the cost of installing this if it falls to the authority to do? If it falls to the authority to do.
That's an excellent question for your solicitor. In general, how, there's such things as separate rate districts, et cetera, and how the authority would choose to handle, were we to force the authority to connect more, how the authority would choose to handle that as a separate rate district or whatever is a question for your solicitor. The Municipal Authorities Act, which is something that you guys deal with all the time, us not so much, allows several different ways to do that. I'm led to believe that if an authority or a township has to do an extension for one individual or for several, they can pass those costs directly on to those individuals. Generally, what we see is more of a community solution to a community problem. These systems aren't cheap, and we know that. You certainly know that. And however you decide to do that is up to you and your solicitor and the Municipal Authorities Act.
But the department would stand behind us in an effort to recoup if they force, and that's a hypothetical question.
The authority's responsibility is to take care of the sewage needs within the community.
Mm-hmm.
When by the authority, I mean the township. I mean, we view the township and the authority as one. And, we're behind the authority and the township in spirit, but at the end of the day, that's responsibility of the township and the authority. And how they choose to handle that is up to them.
So there's nothing the department would prohibit, no reason the department would prohibit the authority trying to recoup. Okay, that's all I wanted to know.
Yes.
Okay.
And we're involved, the department's involved. I think the authority recognizes that, we're not here because we were bored tonight. So, just like you guys aren't here because you're bored.
God, I hope not.
So, although 6 years have gone by and it doesn't appear that a lot has happened, the time has come. And I don't think another 6 years is going to go by.
Well, I
I
can't say.
hope not, but I think it's just appalling that it would sit for 6 years with no permit, nothing being done, and no action on DEP's part, and then to approach us and say by February, we want an answer.
Well,
That's
Sean,
just a little
Sean can add to this,
unsettling.
but there hasn't been any there has been action. It doesn't seem like there's been action, and I don't think the action has ended yet.
Well,
I don't know if you want to add to that or not.
Right, I mean, yeah, the action isn't ended with these guys.
to say there has not been any action for the last 6 years, you can say that against the property owner, but you can't say that with this municipal authority, because we worked to get rights of way. We knew it was coming. We knew something had to be done, all right? So we worked and we got rights of way, you know, so we can do what we have to. We can do what has to be done, or to accommodate. We can accommodate now what we feel Mr. Ward has to do to come online. How's that sound?
I'll sum it up even, with tried and true, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it.
I understand what you're saying.
So, and we hear that.
I understand what you're saying, but bear in mind, whenever you say over the last 6 years nothing's been done, that's not the case. We've worked.
I didn't mean to imply that you haven't done
Okay.
anything,
All right.
and don't take it that way. I'm
Okay.
just saying that although our actions may not have been as strong as they could have been in the last 6 years, it isn't the case for nothing. It may appear that way, but it's.
One other question. Since that is an existing treatment plant, could that be upgraded and improved upon instead of connected into
No.
another system plant?
Nope.
So the only option is to hook it up.
Yeah, a couple of things are the reason. First of all, you've identified it as a needs area in your 537 plan. You said we need to sewer this area. This needs to be done. So that's one of the reasons. Second reason is we look at combined sewage treatment plants whenever feasible. That's the best option. Does it always happen? No. Sometimes things break down and it doesn't happen. But combined sewage treatment is something that we push and strive for, instead of having little package plants all over the place. Because I'm sure a certified operator can tell you that sometimes the smaller sewage treatment plants have a lot more harder to operate than the large sewage treatment plants. So
That was the other question, because if you turn around and you start doing cost analysis here, I sit here, I'm starting to add up other things and everything else, and the overall cost structure, I'm sitting here saying, I know what packaged treatment plants, I have an approximate cost of what they cost and everything else, and I'm sitting there saying, okay, and that's all I was
Okay.
questioned about. So you would deny another on-lot system on there instead of hooking into the system, is what I'm trying to say, even if the authority would be the one taking it over.
we would have to look at that. I can't say we would deny it here today without seeing what the proposal was, and we definitely would prefer not to have it. We would prefer it to be connected to public sewer.
Okay. I understand that because that's commercial area in there, okay? We have open space in there, and the only reason I'm expressing that concern is there could be variables of, factors unknown to us, you know what I'm saying? But that's all I was just thinking about. I didn't know where that was going. I was just
Oh, no, it's
trying
fine.
to get an
That's
answer.
fine.
I figured that you were going to say no 100%, and then you said, well, we
99%, we'll say.
Okay,
So
I kind of figured that was going to be your answer. I just wanted to hear that.
if you had a special situation, we would look at it. We preferably no, we don't want to see that, but in a special circumstance, we would look at that.
Like if something was going in there that was going to require 50 EDUs, and we even have the ability to get down below, then you would almost have to entertain it.
Then we would look at it differently, right? And yeah, maybe it's exactly. I don't know the situation that you're thinking of. If you guys are seeing some kind of
there's
industry,
nothing out there rumor control. It was just something that I think
Yeah,
outside
sure.
the box a lot. so to speak,
Hey, that's
you
good.
know?
That's good. That's a good thought. Yeah, you're crunching some numbers and say new package plan thing we can do for 150, 200,000. The connection's gonna be more than that. Would it be just cheaper to put a new treatment plant in there?
Yes, that's kind of what I was thinking about, and we would be the ones in charge of it, managing it anyhow. I understand it's an extra permit and da and everything, but there would always be anything that we do within the authority here, we've always built it with the intentions it could be
Years.
increased in its capacity and
Right.
doubled in size and everything else. Everything we've had is done that, and so I was just thinking a little bit outside the box, that's all.
Okay. Yeah.
You know where I'm going.
I know where you're
okay?
going. Yeah. And
I know the way the economy is, the chances are it may never happen in my lifetime yet, but I still
could,
think
yeah.
long-term economically, of what stuff goes in.
Let me just run that by. I'm sure you're gonna be talking to their engineer tonight or fairly shortly thereafter. If that's something that is gonna be considered, I just either want to give you a yay or nay as soon as possible. So, I mean, maybe that's something you want to mention tonight.
Okay, it's just something that I thought, maybe we want to toss this around. I mean, it
Okay.
throws a different,
Yeah,
it throws a different twist in it, and I'm sorry
hey,
about that, but
no,
the same
no, no.
atmosphere, it could be a long-term benefit instead of.
It solves the problem. It solves our immediate
I'm sorry, I just
problem
can't,
anyways.
if it's gonna be within
There's a couple. private
$50,000-$75,000, you might as well, apples and oranges here, it's getting a little bit,
Private residences around that place too. So.
you know,
that's
I
thoughts.
There were several pieces of ground that were not spoken for.
Okay.
One was the sawmill adjoining the Dersham property.
It's a cement plant now.
Now it's a cement plant. But if that had went to something that needed intensive sewer, maybe it would be wise to put a small
Sure.
plant in. That was the thinking at one
Okay.
point. But since it appears to be that it's going to be a cement plant, it's never going to be, or at least not under current conditions, a high sewage user.
Mr. Ward was talking about putting a restaurant in down there still.
I mean, there used to be a restaurant.
Yeah, I
there.
remember I
There
was
used to be a line
doing
there.
some research and I saw they moved it to somewhere else.
Yeah, and if he does that, there's a capacity issue right there.
Right.
so.
Okay. Yeah, let me talk to my boss and definitely planning would need to be done and everything, obviously. But
I mean, if there's townhouses and stuff in there, or they got something, I don't know what all could be built in there, but I mean, if the capacity's got to a point we were maxed out,
right.
we've kind of wasted our money hooking him up.
Sure.
When we could have went this other direction, and, it's, because we are limited.
Okay.
I mean, we do have a drop dead mark there, and we have a fix, but might not be, it's a limited fix. It's not gonna allow any capacity growth, it's.
Okay.
It's going to be the dead end of the operation for basically at the present moment, unless he clears everything off the place and puts one unit in.
Right. Right.
So.
Okay. Yeah, we understood that the property may have been for sale right now, so that was, I'm not sure if that was accomplished or not, or completed, or what the status of that is, but. Okay.
That was news to us.
Okay. So I will bring that up. I will ask that question and get you an answer back.
I appreciate that.
Yep, no problem.
Okay.
All right.
Anybody have anything else for us? Nothing else? Thank you for coming out.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks much.
No problem.
Thank you for coming. You feel we're going home? Looking forward to it.
Okay.
Which one are you in charge of tonight?
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Good seeing you. Good seeing you. Sean.
Thank you.
Nice to meet
Tell
you.
Kristen I said hi.
I will.
Thank you. Nice meeting you.
Take care.
Okay, folks, we got minutes to approve for December 5th. Susan, we'll make copies of this and make sure we all get it.
Right now.
No.
Oh, okay.
You want to make a motion we accept these minutes?
I'll make a motion.
Motion's been made. We accept the December 5th, 2012 minutes as written. I hear a second.
I'll second it.
Second, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay, who's first?
Stanley? Bob?
No.
Jody?
Happy New Year. I'm back. I see Dennis isn't here, so I'm assuming.
He'll be here for sure. The DEP folks wanted to meet without our professional staff, so.
Need a cup of coffee.
Hey, you're just in time to give your engineering report.
I didn't bring up the other stuff, so I'm going back to the office.
Might be the quickest day of the night you've ever had.
My wife said, she's like, oh, it's done cannon, she won't be home till like 10. Some of the things we asked about, we talked about last time, Keystone Pump and Power, as far as rates for backup generator if you needed it. I guess what happened was they cut Tyrone Township a break when I said about $25 a month.
Mm-hmm.
What they typically charge for that type of service is $100 a month. Still relatively cheap to have a generator on site within an hour. And what that gives you is the right of first refusal. Basically, if there is an event like Sandy or something like that, and they have the size generator you probably need is around a 20 kW. Basically, that's all they go anyways. They would give you a call. So if that was our last generator on the lot and somebody needed it, they'd give you a call and say, hey, we have this generator here, somebody wants it, do you need it or not? Or we're going to ship it out. So they make sure that they call you before they would ship that out or anything. Transportation charge, I'm just trying to give you all the background charges here. It's usually $100 to $150 for pickup and delivery. That's both. And then it's $165 a day to have the generator on site, $330 a week. So if you're going to have it for 2 days, you have it for the week. And if you need it for a month, it's $990.
$250 a week.
$330 a week. $165 a day.
How much a month?
$990.
I don't see if she's on that long. But that's $100 a month. And that's just retainer fee, so that's going $1,200 a year.
Yeah, just to.
Just for the right to call them and say, hey, send me a new generator.
Well, they get it to you within an hour.
Okay.
They're hooked up within an hour. Now, there are a lot of cases, if you're the treatment plant, things like that, where you may need a generator immediately. Your risk of overflowing a wet well or something like that, within an hour is pretty good. I mean, they're in Dillsburg, so for you an hour it's not tough. Some people it's within 2 hours, but they said in this area it's an hour.
What was the name?
It's Keystone Pump and Power. They're pretty well known and respected in the area as far as bypass pumping. You have any bypass pumping needs, anything like that? They're a good company to call. I don't know if Ed, are you familiar with them at all?
Only in very general terms.
Okay.
I had a discussion with the lady that represented them at the golf outing one time about generalities of how long, how fast. My question still was somewhat like, in a large scale, a tornado goes through and lots of people need generators at the same time. How assured can we be of having one available? That was the kind of questions, and she said that if you were on the list, you were pretty well assured, if you were on the reserve.
Right, and that's
pretty well assured to have one available.
And I mean, to be honest, the fee's not. It's not so small, but $1,200 a year to make sure that you have a generator there within an hour, if you really need it, is a small price to pay.
Yes, it is.
When you really need it. That being said, with future planning here, you likely won't need that sort of thing. And as I understand it right now, you do have the possibility of utilizing a generator that the township may have. I'm not exactly sure. But.
Our old generator we gave the township.
Okay.
That's dedicated for either the water company or if this is
this building.
This building.
Okay.
Right. So. there could be possibilities where we would need a generator. So that's good to keep in mind now.
As far as Sunshine Hill water system goes, I did contact DEP. I talked to Mike Hess about, about if we would be opening Pandora's box, so to speak. I know we talked about that a little bit last time. Once we get the permit rolling, what would we be required to do? It's very different from water to sewer. I mean, I know one thing. We look at the sewer side of things. You open up the permit, you may be subject to Chesapeake Bay and other things like that. Water, I mean, you're going to have to, whatever you do, you have to do per regulations. But it's not, if we start a permit process and we say, you can't afford to put a generator in, they're not going to say you have to put a generator in. You say, we're going to put up a treatment building and better iron and manganese treatment. They're not going to say, well, you need a storage tank. It's not like that. And he said there's really no way, even if you get a permit for these items, that we can make you put those items in. And that's Mike Hess, that's the newer guy there at DEP, not at Municipal, but.
So we wouldn't have to worry about arsenic until the testing showed that
only if you exceeded the MCL.
And that's probably not going to happen real soon, depending on.
Not
especially if we use our well.
Not with your current well. I mean, the results wouldn't show that you would be. I think the highest I had seen on any results from the existing well were around 4 parts per billion, which was less than half of the MCL.
Yes.
Do you have an idea of how much room we would need if we would have to put it in later on? Arsenic treatment. I mean, how much is that? What kind of a container? What kind of a? With
the systems we originally started looking at, like the Ad Edge, those types of systems, and I think with what you would want here is something that could be converted. That you could add another unit on, or that you could maybe feed some chemical and utilize that. So I would lean very heavily towards. Still with the iron and manganese treatments, still like the Ad Edge system. I don't know if that's going to be quite as effective because the arsenic is so low. You might end up having to feed iron, is what they tell me. But
we may never have to use arsenic treatment.
You may, yeah, that's exactly right. You may never have to use arsenic treatment. So
if we blend, even if we got the other well,
I would say when we get into the meat of this design, you leave room for it if you ever need to.
We built a big enough building to accommodate the design system and leave the rough ends in the ground and then leave it at that.
Right, but don't.
It may get used, it may not get used.
But don't go to the extreme where we have the system, the system there and it's not being utilized.
Yeah.
We've kind of been doing some preliminary stuff here, but I do want to let everybody know we just met with the school district for Christmas there. They're doing a system very similar to yours. Booster pumps, storage tank. Their storage tank is much smaller, but booster pumps very similar in size. Arsenic and iron, probably iron treatment. So I haven't done a whole lot design wise. Well, we've been talking preliminary anyways, but I kind of wanted to design both of these at the same time because I put in the same effort, but I designed 2 systems. It's cheaper for everybody. That's kind of the way I pitched it to them too. I'm looking at designing this system, which is very similar to their size. So I just wanted to let everybody know that as well. And they're very similar. I mean, they're around 50 to 70 gallons a minute, which is, I think we had arsenic. The 4-log was around 55 gallons a minute. So it's right in the same ballpark. They won't have a fire flow pump, but they'll still have the same style booster pumps that we're talking about here.
So if I understood you correctly, the department would allow us to put out the storage in without the iron and manganese at this time.
I believe that's the case because iron and manganese aren't a primary MCL.
Well, I understand.
If it was a primary,
hazard, that's completely understandable.
Right.
And I'm not trying to say that we don't want to put iron and manganese in. What I'm saying would be if it was economical or if it was too expensive to do the iron and manganese at the same time we were doing the storage is needed badly.
Yeah,
the iron and manganese could be added later.
Right. I mean, that's basically what they say, and it depends on the person. And I didn't really get a good feel from Mike there, but I talked to a different person in Adams County. Not Tom Phillip, is actually the guy above Tom Phillip, Tom Shaw, about major minor permit modifications. And he basically said if you're putting in the way it's supposed to be, if you're putting in a standpipe or a storage, it's supposed to be a major modification. You're supposed to go through the whole permit process, 120 business days, 6 months basically. But he said, if it's just storage, they're not as strict about that. But when it's a primary MCL, like arsenic, now I'm talking about this other school district now a little bit, they're very strict on that major permit, the fact that they get 120 days to review it. It's the full time period. I think if we're looking at iron and manganese here, treatment, which I believe we are, they're probably leaning towards the full permit process anyways, the 120 days. They get 120 business days to review it, so it basically equates to 6 months. They used to word it as 6 months, now it's 120 business days. There's no difference, really. But that's the kind of permit process
And if
you're
you don't
looking
hear
at.
back from them, we can build wherever we want, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
not quite. Doesn't quite work like the townships do, but. But no, it's not like if we start doing certain things, hey, you want to put a storage tank in, you want to put this in, that, okay, now you have to do this, this, and this. Unless, for some reason, we would test the water, which I think you still should, but unless there's something in there, I say you're like any of the radiums, like uranium or anything like that, you'd have issues with that. You might have to treat for those. You would have to treat for those. I can save money. But if your arsenic was higher, you would have to treat for that. Any of the primary MCLs, you're going to have to treat for, no matter what.
So far, there's not been a problem with any of them. I will run that list by. I have the list you gave.
Right.
I haven't taken it down to the lab yet because the lab's been holidaying too.
Okay.
But it was nice to know that they weren't going to make us do everything to do one thing. You understand what I'm saying?
I think so.
Okay. If we wanted to put the storage tank in, they weren't going to say you must then do the iron and manganese at the same time.
Right.
What I'm gathering from what you're saying is they'd allow us to do the storage and then the iron and manganese at a later date.
And I'm not exactly sure. Maybe you're. I'm thinking of this as more as you would permit the tank now, and then we would do the tank, and then if we needed to permit things later, we would permit those later.
That was the question.
Yeah, I don't know if we. Maybe I didn't pose the question properly to DEP. That's the other thing. If we permit everything at one time, are we allowed to piecemeal it then? Maybe that's more the question rather than.
Almost got to do it all at one time.
Well,
I think they give you a limit on the permit of when you have to meet the permit requirements.
Right. But I think.
I mean, it's not something that we could just abandon the tanks in the ground and keep
Right.
them
I mean,
operating.
you're
It's not
looking
gonna
at. I
happen.
think if you do the tank, you're definitely looking at the treatment
Another
plant.
thing that comes into play here too is that CDBG grant. I was talking with the individuals down there from that, and they the time frame where we had to install the fire hydrants that they gave us the money for.
Mhm.
They looked at our time frame, and that would have put it too far out to get them, for the money. Instead of 5 years, they asked us to move it up. So if we're going to ask him to do a design, we're going to have to include the fire hydrant and everything within the first 2 phases.
And how many pipe, how much pipe? New pipe?
It's more than I can tell. I don't know.
I don't remember what phase one.
Well, I
Phase
still
one was the
say it's
size
silly
of
to
the
put
house.
Phase
new
one
pipes in and
was
not
to
put
get
iron.
our phase one was to put the storage the treatment and the storage in, and two was to start doing the main.
I'm thinking more of when we originally posed that to CDBG about phase one, phase two.
If you got enough grant money, you could probably almost do one branch line on the grant money and do it whenever. Make it a phase of its own. Just do the line replacement in
concerned with
phases and worry about the water
I'm
the other way.
concerned. I don't want to take a chance of losing that $140,000.
That's what I'm
I
saying.
understand.
Let's do it.
I
But
think
it's
you get 3 years.
it's for fire hydrants. She specifically is
It is
saying
for
that.
fire hydrants.
She's
yes.
not saying anything else. It was given for fire
The
hydrants.
installation of fire hydrants.
So we have to be
In other
careful.
words-
And nothing else.
Well, if we have, say we're putting 12 fire hydrants, just picking numbers, that money is to put buy 12 fire hydrants, install 12 fire hydrants, and pipe those fire hydrants from our main, our existing main.
Wow.
That's surprising. I would have thought it would have been anything
Chip
to
in the main and
facilitate,
everything, upgrade.
the upgrades of those fire hydrants too.
I mean, that's kind of a little ridiculous, to take a 6-inch line, hook it into a
You bet.
4-inch line.
No, that the lines stink.
I mean, that
So
being
that's
said,
something I mean, once we get into this, get it designed, we're gonna have to touch base with them and you get some clarification on what that grant will pay for, you know?
It's a 3-year deadline.
Yes.
How many fire hydrants?
I don't know, whatever the gentleman decides we need.
Or
So
the
in other words,
money's
we got a
covered.
grant like Duncannon had a while back.
It's there.
We applied for what?
We applied for a grant.
Lines in?
We applied for everything, and they saw fit to grant our petition for fire hydrants.
That's crazy.
Well, hey,
Man's gonna give me $140,000. I ain't gonna complain to him.
I mean, fire hydrants aren't cheap by any means. I mean, to put a fire hydrant in the TI.
the branch off,
Now, I
the
don't know.
branch off the main to the hydrant's probably gonna be 6 to 10.
Yeah.
Now, I don't
$6,000.
know whether we can buy all the fire hydrants that we need, stockpile them, and then use the balance of the money to put in main to get to them, and as we put in main, install those fire hydrants that we have stockpiled. I don't know whether that's legal or not, or whether that's acceptable, I should say.
Yeah, because I would say the big thing there is, you know, the way I understood it and the way we had kind of talked about originally before we even applied for the money was that, you know, it would be for the upgrade of the lines to facilitate the use for fire hydrants and firefighting equipment. And that's a typical thing. I've done that in multiple municipalities where I went to the CDBG meeting and said, this is what we're looking for to upgrade these lines so that they can actually handle fire flows. You know, there's fire hydrants out there now that are worthless. They're bagged, you know, they don't work because there's not enough flow there. And that's one of the big points I make to them is that we're trying to upgrade this line so that it will handle the fire flows. And typically when those grants are given, all the ones I've seen in the past have been for the upgrade of the line because of that, not just for the fire
The
hydrants.
communications that I got back from them was they asked us if we could install the fire hydrants on phase 2, and I told them no, we could not do it until we got sufficient capacity, storage capacity. There's no sense in putting them in if we can't use them.
Right, you're gonna put them in and bag them. They're gonna be
Right.
bagged, you know,
So,
until you get a line to it.
so
I mean,
they-
even
you
if
know,
we
they
took
wanted-
it down around, even if we took and expanded and ran the main line down both ways, or even the one way down
Well, I
and
think-
jumped it down the butcher
Well, I
house.
think what we're going to do now, what we need to do is to turn Van loose on the design, so we know exactly what we have to do. You know, we've discussed the preliminary design on it, and now it's time to turn him loose to design, is my opinion anyway, to design the system so we can look at it and see what it's going to look like.
Make modifications if necessary.
And it's pretty
We
simple,
know.
cut and dry, you're just replacing what's there and upgrading it to the
But I
new
mean,
line
for
size.
whatever they're requiring.
Understand.
I mean,
I think we ought
I
to
don't want
confirm
to, we need to confirm what they're looking
Yeah.
at and exactly what
What we're
they're,
gonna pay for.
yeah.
Question for you, Ben. If we got off the water system and got onto this, and I'd like to kind of stay
What do you mean,
back.
this is water
Bless
system?
you.
Yeah, but this is the grant thing. We ain't got the money yet either, so it could be 3 years till we get that, it'd be obsolete. But, if we put a standpipe up, and the electric went out, and we lost pressure, would the standpipe itself keep a positive displacement in the system till we got something hooked up?
You're still gonna have positive pressure. You're
So
just
we're not gonna have an interruption technically somebody turns the faucet on, even on top of the hill, they're still gonna have water coming out their faucet.
They're gonna have some pressure, it's gonna be very,
What I'm trying to get at,
very
and that's
low.
where I'm going here. I'm trying to make sure that we got a system that's not gonna cause us an interruption of service because we got electric out and we don't get a generator hooked up to it in time. Or, well, we'll have a generator on this one.
Well, yeah, I
There
mean,
will be a
once we
generator.
do everything, we'll have a generator,
Right.
because, you know, even if you had the standpipe there and you didn't, you know, the pumps weren't running, you're gonna have,
Generate it back up.
you're
There's
gonna have.
gonna be
back-
gravity pressure against it, but it's gonna be limited.
You're talking a very minimal amount.
Correct.
You wouldn't even be able to get 20 PSI.
But you're
up
not
at
gonna get air in
those
the,
folks up at the
you're not
top.
gonna get air in the system.
It wouldn't,
We don't need
what
a-
he's looking at is it would not go negative.
Right, well, yeah, because then you'd have to do a boiled water and everything
Yes.
else.
He's asking whether the gravity will keep it from going negative.
And I'm not 100% sure through the pumps. The only thing I would be worried about is through the pumps, you know, if they're not running. And I'm not 100% sure that.
Would there be a way of putting a bypass valve in there to overcome that, just for, you see what I'm saying? I'm
Yeah,
just-
I mean, you could definitely do something like that.
My mind's tossing here all the time because I'm looking at something that saves us a lot of testing, reporting, and all this other
You
stuff
could,
that
I
come
mean,
back
there's
through.
ways to do that. You could put some type of bypass valve where it's a pressure valve, and once the pressure drops below a certain amount, then the valve would automatically open.
Okay, I just, like I said, I'm not 100% sure how these systems all work. I didn't know if it would be enough to go through the pumps, or if the pumps were restricted to a point that it wouldn't.
And I'm not 100% sure the pumps wouldn't. That's what I'm saying. You know, if the standpipe was there, you would have some pressure in the houses. You're going to have some positive pressure at the main. It's going to be a very minute amount, but you're not going to go zero or negative pressure. You know, I said from the get-go, the people at the bottom are going to see a good amount of pressure no matter what. If the pumps weren't there, they would see good
I'm
pressure.
assuming there's gonna be two normal feed pumps, and then there's gonna be two pumps for fire pumps, or a
Well,
single
it'll just be
pump?
one fire flow
fire
pump. Yeah. There'll be two. The way I have it right now, 2 3-horsepower pumps for normal use, and they alternate. And then if there's a higher pressure demand, they will both kick on. And I think we've discussed this, but I think you guys are leaning more towards a straight on-off with a larger pressure tank, not so much the VFD and the variable speed. But yeah, there'll be 2 pumps, and that's what I've typically seen. There's always.
Did I understand you to say the two alternating pumps together would equal a fire pump?
No.
Okay.
No. The fire pump will be a
So
separate.
they're third separate one.
There will have to be a VFD on the fire pump
Yeah.
Correct,
because
I understand.
you don't have 3-phase, so there will have to be a VFD on that one. And that'll be a rather large VFD because you're talking. I think the fire pump that I spoke with JT Sealy about was around 15 horsepower. So to be able to produce that much water
I
that quickly,
understand,
So it's about $6,000 VFD.
it'd be expensive. Now that's a lot cheaper than it would have been 10, 15 years ago, but at the same time it's still expensive.
But the other ones are just standard change out of pumps and stuff with pressure system switches and.
Yeah, I mean
Simple.
that's what
Simple.
we talked about, and
Don't let me screw things up with this animosity towards VFDs.
well, no, I mean I talked with the guy that was the pump guy, and he said we can do either way. He said some people like it this way, some people like it that way.
Okay.
Well, Ed, I'll give you my opinion on a VFD. They work great. They're the greatest thing since that ever came out. But when they go down, or when they break, or they're 10 or 15 years old, they're obsolete. You got to throw them out because you can't fix them. They're obsolete. I mean, once you get 7 to 10 years, there's no repairing them. They're an obsolete thing. You've got to upgrade the VFD package. Am I correct?
Well, the big thing is they've come down in price, and they're very near or at, in some situations, throwaways. They go bad, you throw it away. You don't send it out and fix it because the next one isn't that. Until you fix it, you take it out and you put it back in and you fixed it. You spend enough to buy, or very nearly to buy a new one.
But
So-
a regular switch control is a lot cheaper.
Right, it's on off. I mean,
Yeah.
And what would there would be some kind of pressure tank after the pumps that they pumped up the pressure.
right. They pump the pressure up in that tank, and then like I said before, with a VFD, you'd have a very small pressure tank. You might only have a 10 or 20 gallon pressure tank, whereas I think I think he said it would only be like a 60, but then we looked at something else, and I think it'd be maybe like 200-gallon pressure tank.
It would be smarter to go with bigger because it won't be that much more expensive, and it'll stop you on off.
On off so much, right? You know.
Which cuts down on the power and the pump motor failure. I mean,
that's the biggest difference between normal ones and VFDs is the expansion tank size.
Yeah, I mean, and then the VFD, and then now your customers would experience more of a constant pressure with the VFD. I mean, they're going to have, it's going to be 40 psi at the top of the hill pretty much all the time.
Well, they're going to have the standard down below no matter what.
Well, down below they're going to have,
a pressure reducing station. It's going to compensate for anything.
Right, whatever they would have below. I mean, I think right now, when we did that preliminary test, they were like 80 some psi. That's pretty good. That's yeah. When I said, if as you're doing these phases down the hill, you decide to put a pressure reducing valve in on either side to compensate for that a little bit, and then they need to be maintained and everything. But those people down at the bottom would have a more, I'd say, workable pressure. 60, 40 to 60 psi. You're going to use less water as well. That's just how it is.
Right now, what we're looking at the top of the hill is a variance between 40 to 55.
Okay.
On the pneumatic tanks. The pump comes on at 40, goes off at 55. So we're not actually changing any of that. In fact, we may be actually having a more even pressure at the top of the hill, which would reduce the peaks at the bottom of the hill also. Because when it's at 60, to kick off the pump at the top of the hill, it's at 85 down at the bottom. If we only need to keep a 40 level or a 45 level at the top of the hill, we may stay at 75 at the bottom and never go above that.
Yeah, and 40, I kind of went 40. I didn't really know what your pressures are at the top of the hill right now. I kind of figured they would be probably around 40, 45. But 40 is still generous. That's still good pressure. You're only required to have 20 psi at the main.
Yeah.
You're only required to have that. So you're doubling that pressure.
What you would see is
You have a lot of
stuff would hit
complaints
the
if you
fan
didn't.
when the fire pump came in.
You'd have a lot of
If you
complaints
didn't
if
have
you
new-
dropped off 40 psi.
New butt lines at the bottom.
What do you want, Elmer? You want to stand on your front porch and wash your car?
I got 60-some pounds pressure right now, so
All right.
I'm good. It's been that way forever.
There's a lot of elevation change there.
Oh yeah, there's more than most people realize.
It's I think from top to bottom, it's nearly 100 feet. I think.
So where are we at with this thing
Just
now?
roughly.
Are we building this water system, or what are we doing?
That's what I'm saying. We need to give him the okay to design it. As far as I'm concerned, we want to build this system, yes.
The big thing would be too, as far as because one of the first steps I'm going to have some guys come out and survey it, and I would want to grab some of the roadway, try to do, that we have some of those phases, some of the survey anyways, down the road when you want to do some of that. I mean, I'm not talking about grabbing the whole development right now, but while they're there, grabbing, because the site's not going to take very long, and we're going to run up here anyways, grabbing some of the roadway as well.
Like from where the fire hydrant is now, both ways, all the way
Both ways
down,
down to a certain point. I mean, and that's a decision to be made. How far do you want to go right now, or how much survey would you like me to do?
What do they recommend the distances to placement of fire hydrants?
I think the typical placement in a subdivision ordinance is around 600 feet. A radius.
Wow.
I think it's 600 feet. Now I've seen less, but that's a pretty typical. I'm pretty sure.
That takes you 300 either way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think I'd like to. I'm like you, Sam. Take it down, plus survey the one going down to butcher shop.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Take the one down to Jefferson.
Yeah.
I think that's as far as you want to go at this moment, don't you think?
Yes.
And then take the other one down.
And what I can do is take
all
it
the way down to Eisenhower or whatever that is.
Well, we could, just thinking about it, we could probably run it down to Jefferson Street meter box. The new one that we just put in.
Mm-hmm.
And then as shadows, go down over the hill to butcher shop.
Do that as one phase or one survey mark. What about
survey.
going the other way? I mean, those lines are kind of.
Well, going the other way is in my opinion, is gonna be pretty easy, because that's just, there's no branches on that.
That goes all the way down to Lincoln Street.
It goes, no, not quite as far as Lincoln Street.
No?
No, it goes down to Myers. You know where Myers lives? On the
Tim.
turn? Where Tim
Yeah,
Myers
yeah,
lives.
yeah.
That's the end of it, right there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it'll be the final hydrant there.
That would be the final hydrant there, yes. Now, it goes on the other side of the street.
Which is right there at Roar's little
Yeah,
garage.
yeah.
Right, okay.
But the final hydrant, or our blow-off spot, on that side is at the telephone pole at Tim Myers'.
Okay. I mean, we might as well get all them done.
Mhm.
And like you said, even if for him to survey, it's still not gonna be much for them to survey that either. I kind of agree with what you're saying. Survey it.
Yeah, I mean, the lot itself's not gonna take long. It's a very small lot.
And then,
but I would be,
once we
you know,
get
while they're
that
here.
stuff done, then it's just the interconnects.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Because he's gonna turn around and put branches with valves on
Mhm.
and tie the old into it, and then we'll tie them in later on.
Right.
All right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I was figuring.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just like to grab as much as I can at one time. That way it's not, you know, a whole separate while we're here.
Need a consensus to tell him that that's what we're gonna do?
And if he got more time, survey more of it, you know?
Well, that's the
Take
thing.
time for everybody.
What I figured was I'd get an aerial
It's
map
surely
and kind of
not
mark
gonna-
where
it's
what
not
we think
gonna
we'd be able to
change.
do.
No, it's not gonna change. Are you looking at 1 day or 2 days surveying, or are you trying to get 1 day's worth of work out of this thing, or?
I need to talk to my guy that surveys all the time and kind of get a feeling. I could look at it for, you know, because he's going to have to set marks and everything else, and kind of get a feeling from him how much it would take to survey certain things. And I can send some aerial and like an aerial photography up to say this is
Kinda able
what.
to plot somewhere already.
Well, I mean, it wouldn't be hard for me to just do something on the computer and kind of mark it and say this is what we're thinking for a day. If you want to do more, you know, we can do more. But I'd like to talk to him about it. But I just wanted to throw it out there, like we probably should do more than just that little lot because they're all going to be here. So
I would definitely like to get down to butcher shop.
Mhm.
I think that's a critical one to replace.
That's a
We've
nasty-
had enough issues down through there
that's a
2 or 3
nasty-
different
that's a
times.
nasty piece down
That's, I mean, if worst comes to worst, take that,
there. Yeah.
go down there and then run down to Jefferson Street. And then if you can still go more, run down to the box. I kind of agree with you,
Yeah.
Sam, you know what I'm saying?
Wally said it, do it.
How's that working out too?
As far as I can see, pretty good. Susan and I were working on a bulk water thing
Okay.
here, Sue, so we'll talk about that later. Yeah.
this is the stuff. I
So
can
do you
email
need
it.
any other direction from us, Ben?
Yeah, but guess what? I don't have time.
You need any other direction?
No, and like I said, I'm kind of the school board meeting I think is next week. So and they told us like they had I think 2 or 3 engineers in. We're going to be doing the work, and I wanted to kind of do them at the same time.
Okay.
You know, because it's going to be very similar. A lot of at least the groundwork as far as actually getting the pump sized and everything else. I mean, we did a lot of preliminary stuff here, but actually getting that is going to be very similar. So I wanted to, you know, kind of that research and things like that are going to be the same. So I didn't want to, if I could spread it out over 2 clients, it's much better than and each one of you paying for the same thing.
Okay.
Are we satisfied with we know what kind of capacity we're looking for in the tank?
Yeah, I think.
I think we already gave him those numbers.
We're satisfied with what's gonna happen with next door there?
We gave him.
We're designed to
We
accommodate
are designed
that.
to accommodate that, yes,
Plus a little extra.
yes.
Okay.
Plus, well, the little extras are fair.
Yeah, we had 132,000 gallons with the potential to expand it to 209,000 gallons. Is what we were looking at with the aqua store tank.
The way things are going, that may never happen next door. You never heard that,
Never
right?
know, you never know.
I-
They might have fall off the cliff too.
Well, when can we break ground?
Hmm?
When's the digging start? What's taking so
Well,
long?
you know, DEP in
Yesterday,
6
yesterday,
months.
yesterday.
Don't even go there, Ben.
Anybody have anything else for Ben? I do, before I leave him, I'm gonna go down to old business. And while we got both of them here, we're gonna review what we just heard from DEP, the 537 plan. Everything in a nutshell. What he said was, it's township's responsibility to account for the sewage, the sanitary waste. So what he's saying is our responsibility.
His word was requirement. Our
Requirement.
requirement.
It's our requirement. Yeah. Now, we explained to him that our position is, and it has been all along, that we have the capacity and it's the property owner's responsibility to connect to us.
And they have issues with water.
And and he disagrees. But at any rate, that's where he stands. He said he's got, Mr. Ward has until, what, January 15th to comply to his,
To submit a permit.
yeah, for his, what, NS, whatever.
And PDS.
That permit. And then after that, if he doesn't do that, then they're gonna email back to us, or they're gonna communicate, fax to us, communicate back to us somewhere or other, and we'll work from there. They've requested that we contact Mr. Ward and initiate a dialogue to get them connected prior to DEP's issuing the mandate to do it. Susan has it on the recorder there, and I'll ask her to record it off so you can hear exactly what he's telling us.
I think they have to go to court and have the court, I think they think.
Whatever.
Is he talking
Yeah,
about
I think so,
compliance?
too.
Yeah.
Consent order, is that what he's?
Yeah. No, we also explained to him that we can't very well go in there and do that, because if we start digging a hole in his property, he's gonna throw us in jail.
He also said he was going to send us a letter outlining our options.
Yes.
Slim,
Which were very slim.
slim to
Yeah,
none.
slim.
Yeah.
And we also explained to them that even if we were forced to put the grinder pump in and supply the system to them, if the system's not satisfactorily tested to hook up to our system, we won't allow it to happen anyhow.
What do you say to that?
Well, he just.
Townships, it's a township
Township
requirement to account for the sewage.
Yeah.
But we said it's our requirement not to take anything that's not satisfactory to be hooked up to us. I said we did doing that all across the board, and we don't take exceptions to it, so.
We talked about a separate sewer district too, issue.
He says it's possible, you could do separate connection rate, separate sewer rate,
Yeah, well.
if that's the case, if that's what we really want to do.
And he's going to consider allowing a separate plant be built there.
Maybe.
He's going to talk to his boss to see if it would be permissible to just build a new sewer plant.
The one that's there
A
now
package
isn't
plant.
No,
worth
no.
keeping.
No,
No.
that
No.
didn't sound real hopeful, but
It's
an open
nothing but a
door.
steel tank buried in the ground, basically. It's one of them prefabricated
That's what I told
units
him,
that
so all
drop it
rest
in
of
and
the
then they hook
pipes should
everything
be
to
in.
it.
It's got tons of.
The cost
tons
to
of-
operate that for that would be, you might as well go with the pump station. Unless you see other EDUs from other sources coming in.
What was it that you estimated to bring out?
That's what I was trying to look for, see if I had that.
that was back
what I
in
had.
February then.
Dennis, they did
I know I had it
seem to
before.
be in agreement that we could adjust our tapping fees for that piece of property to reflect what it costs us to install it, if in fact we have to install it.
Yeah, but that would
But
require.
I was gonna say,
separate
that's gonna make it so
February 15th.
cost prohibitive for him that he's gonna have to get, he couldn't do anything with us
I
anyway.
know.
Well,
So
I-
we're still gonna be
I know I
out.
saw
I
it
understand
last
what you're
time we
saying,
talked about
but
it,
if
I
they
thought
allow
about
that,
Well, that would
at
be the
least
term
you've got
for
the
the-
leverage
Okay.
against the property
Put
to
a link.
recoup the cost,
Yep.
even if you have to sell the property to do it. If they don't allow you to do that, then you eat it.
Yeah.
You're not gonna win on that one either.
No.
Well, right now, there's no permit for the.
No.
They have no plan, it has not, what, for 12 years?
2006.
Sickness and
6
2,000.
years, 6 years.
6
it
years.
has not been done.
So they won't enforce any of the regulations on that NPDES permit because he doesn't have a current one.
So they have to try to get him to sign one so that they can enforce
They can
it.
enforce it.
He probably isn't gonna do it.
Yeah, is there any way to, he's operating illegally at this point, can't
Well,
they
that's
just
the thing,
shut?
That's what I
We asked
suggested
them.
to it.
You can't operate, can't use the
No, they
structures?
said, no, they said they don't like to do that.
They
That's
don't
harsh.
like.
They don't like it.
That's harsh, that's harsh, I see.
And I
That's
told him,
harsh.
and I told him,
Okay.
we don't like to do it either, sure
Yeah.
sales are awful harsh. But,
Well, that's what I was gonna say too.
I fail to see why it's harsh.
Yeah.
I think what's harsh is burdening your existing ratepayers
And I,
with somebody else's problem.
That was explained to him.
Very, very firmly.
And, yeah.
I think what we estimated was a little over 70,000 to connect, to put in a duplex pump station, connect the 610 feet to the existing low pressure line, and then the,
So 610 feet over there.
yeah, I think I actually
Well, we
estimated.
stretched the truth a little bit, we weren't quite long enough.
we know.
I think I actually estimated 630 just to be on the safe side. And then around 570 feet to across the Ellenberger property to that manhole.
That's all.
That's included in the 70,000.
Yeah, I estimated the $55 a foot along Route 15, and then $38 a foot across the Ellenberger property.
That was open trenched.
Yeah,
And the duplex grinder pump system.
14,000.
Did you figure an extra manhole at the end of the Allenberger property?
No, we were going to the existing manhole.
You're gonna have to go up and make a turn.
I think we'd have to make
You're gonna have to, I'll look at that.
245s probably, and be able to make the turn to the
What's the 70, does that include the pump?
pump station.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just roughly figured a duplex pump station would do it. I mean, that was very rough.
That's
when
in
we
the
talked about-
70 number?
Yeah, 71. I think it's 71,000.
And that's
Not the
gonna- that's-
installation of the pump station.
I forget. It's been so long. I forget what the actual duplex pump station cost. Was.
Well, the numbers in the 537 plan were 450,000.
Yeah, but that's because they're going open trench from the back road.
On the back
And run-
road.
and run a gravity
They run
pump
all
main
the way
around
Well,
the
you,
back
yeah, you
road.
didn't have that right of way at that time, so you would have been going, I guess, the whole way around.
Without the right of way, you'd have been there.
Well, yeah, because you have to go the whole way down and back around.
Now, that will accommodate, that design that we're discussing right there should handle 20 EDUs.
Well, that's I'm not 100% sure because we never ran a full analysis on that. We was very rough with a duplex. You want me to look at that?
I think we need to look at that.
20 is 20 EDUs the number of EDUs there?
We're looking at probably 15, 17, just by a quick head count approximately, but it would
Roughly
be nice.
figure 20.
It would be nice to figure 20 and give yourself some cushion there. Because who knows what the operation's gonna be down there, you know what I'm saying? There's a lot of variables in that.
I thought that was done.
We looked at
Several years ago, and-
we looked at hooking on this system, and I think at that time we said maybe 10 EDUs would be to hook that to this line, but it wasn't going to work. That was years and years ago. I have that in
We
the
only have
grinder.
like a total of
And they
7,
also need
5,
to,
what, 2 or 3 or 4 in that
after
line
they
right
send
now.
us the letter,
Left in that line.
Yeah.
4 left in that
Once
line
a
the way
year
it's designed
through
right now.
he needs-
Yeah, and I think
he
you can
needs,
only maybe add one on the
response
end.
from us
The
after
other
our
ones were
February
up towards the school district, which they actually
Shortly
acquired
after our February
one or two. I
One
think.
on that for
Now-
that concession stand.
You got,
There were certain zones that they could go in, and there was only maybe one on the very end of that line.
are you figuring a 3-inch line going up through the Ellenberger track?
We said 2 or 3 inch. We just kind of rough estimate.
I'd like to go with the bigger size.
Bell and Spigot,
Yeah,
SVR.
yeah.
And from that, one other thing we can do is we can let the,
We can take it all the way down to State Road on that line if we wanted to give you a little bit more shorter
that's,
distance.
see, that's where that's what I'm getting to. We can let everybody from the ward, you know, from Ward 1, Bowman, or Borman, let them on the current system,
Yep.
going that way. And
For a
then
lockout
everybody from the ward system up, there's 3,
Well,
put them on that system up there, and that'll alleviate some of the pressure off of that.
just to make sure, I was connecting to the existing system and disconnecting it at the Ellenberger property where it necks back.
Yes.
I wasn't running a new line that whole way with that 71,000.
Correct.
Okay.
I mean, the only thing we would wanna do is run it closer to the state road, maybe cut back on some resistance. You know what I'm saying? Which is at 50 more feet, 75 feet, whatever it would
That's
be.
more than that.
What you would
Is
need
it
to
probably
do
about
is,
4 or 5 sticks?
Ben, you would need to give them how many EDUs could go on the 2-inch line.
Yeah. About 100.
If it was terminated
I think
at the
you're right.
ward property and went into the new Bell and
Right.
3
Yeah,
inch
because
line.
we never looked at that option because that right of way was never there before.
Yeah.
But then you'd need to know on the 2-inch line coming down along 11 to 15, how much will you be allowed to
I
put
think
into
it
that?
comes down here then.
When it
That would
empties
be our
into the
choke
new
point.
line,
That would be our choke point.
yeah. And it may be
School
that
driveway's down here.
won't be necessary to replace that
This
the
is
whole way up.
the-
all the
yeah,
way.
right here's where it goes down along the
You
back.
know,
Yeah,
along
that's
11
where
to
that
15.
that dotted
I
line
was gonna
is.
say, take it from here and move it up
There
there.
may be enough capacity in
the
that
new line
2-inch
the whole way
line.
up.
Well, I'm thinking
Okay.
once we take the other
Because
things
then
off
when
there
we're
and
up in
run,
the asphalt,
you
take
know,
it as far as we can.
So
that's
you're
That's
probably
all
talking
earth
another
stuff.
100,
We're going to
150
get what
maybe.
we
At the
need.
most.
If he gives you that number though.
Yeah,
then
you
can
could
make a
go,
decision.
and then you could upsize that to a 3-inch.
Yes.
I believe this is a 2-inch.
Yes, HDPE.
HDPE line now.
Take
yeah.
that as close as we can to there
Do we
and
know
then
what
tie
the
it in, put a
flow is
manhole
that
in there,
goes
tie
into that
everything in
plan
underneath
now?
that manhole in that driveway. There's like a driveway in there.
It-
You
we
can
think-
zip right
we
in there,
think there's I
and
and
then
I
that's a
getting
straight
to-
shot up through
There's
there.
definitely a lot of
You'd
line.
probably go
Yeah.
almost up to 500 feet or better.
So we'll have to put
You see
a,
them getting it.
we'll have to put
And
a
this
flow meter
here-
on it.
You're gonna come up
So
here,
that you
the
can-
manhole's right there.
Oh, there's a manhole here.
Monitor
Manhole is about
what you're taking in there.
right.
Oh,
Then they'll
okay.
have to
It
pay
was
So
the
you're
amount
gonna
of
come up and go
EDUs.
around this corner here.
Okay, well that's
Because
close.
Well,
actually this
yeah.
line is right here, because this comes right behind his
Pay
house.
for the number of
Sewer
EDUs,
line, right
tapping
there about where
fees.
the manhole's at.
Oh, okay.
And the
And
I looked at
additional.
the other day.
And the
I&I.
usage.
Yeah, because we talked about it before it was very
additional
rough, and
I&I.
it's like, I think it's,
So a flow
I
meter
said, well,
would
I'll
be
figure 100
required.
feet either way, I'm not
That's
sure.
why I was thinking it depends on the depth of this.
So Ed, you don't have
Look at
any
the
idea
asphalt,
what,
you may wanna
what's
dig
going on
another
there, you know
manhole
you're
into
operating
there.
it, right? I mean,
And then run
How
straight
much
into
water?
that. And then
Yeah.
it'd be easy to
Tremendous
walk.
amounts.
You could do that.
Because
yeah.
as far as I
If
know,
we
the
got the
whole
depth here, I don't know.
existing.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. I don't know what
It's
that-
pretty shallow, down, pretty
Lines
short,
from
because this
the
starts rolling down pretty
trailer
hard.
park?
I looked at
Oh,
pretty
okay.
hard the other day.
Are just
Yeah,
laying
you
open.
might not have the depth for that.
Oh.
We'll
Feed
be able
right
to-
into
But
it.
you'll know as soon as you look at the as-built, they'll
Have to
give you the
flip the
invert
arc.
on that.
Oh my God.
I'll have to look. I think I have a lot of that information.
Yeah, okay.
Not to
But you
mention
see what I'm getting at?
what is
I would
actually
like to see that
connected,
all the
but
way
as
as
a
far as we
core
can go.
connection.
Right.
Right before
Oh,
we get in
even,
the
oh
asphalt
my
there.
gosh.
Yeah, I
That's
tell you,
worse than
that's
I
why-
thought.
That's a heavy.
Yeah.
And then all that is a straight line of 2 inch. All you
But
touch
now
one
unless
end,
they've
it'd be
terminated.
nice to replace that fitting with 3
And I tried to
So you
convince
have
him to
it-
terminate
but-
with a sandbag, the manhole coming from the trailer park.
He didn't even do that?
Not this far as I know. I mean, there was a lot could have been done for a little.
Yeah, we said, when we did that before, it was 2-inch, possibly 3-inch, because the price isn't gonna differ much between 2 and 3 inch. It's
And if
gonna
you go
be-
3 inch SDR, you're actually going bigger than the HDPE.
Right, you just
So
worry about, you
what's
can't
the
go too
plan?
big,
Wait
because if
to
you
see
go too
what
big,
happens
then you don't have the
for
velocities
To
to,
clean it.
And
yeah,
then
so
we go
it's
from there.
it's that,
He said
that
there's
fine
no
line, you
benefit
know?
in
think-
6 years on it. I said,
What does
well,
Bill always say,
thank
when you first put a pressure system
I
in,
mean, we
it's
may
too
not have
big, and then eventually it's too
communicated.
small.
That's what I'm saying, right. I would sooner be a little bit bigger and have
Right,
concern
right.
about it being clean for the future connection.
Yeah, a
You
few
know
years
what I'm
down the
saying?
road, they want you to connect somebody down here.
They're hanging their hat on the
If
537
I can tie this line back in and back flush it, use it for now, and then shut the valve and run it the other way.
I think the only options are either
You
go to
can- you can
Commonwealth
max
Court,
it
have
now
it
by
judge
using
your
everything
order,
off this side.
or start issuing
Yeah, I was
penalties.
figuring on
I mean,
just
that's about the only
disconnecting this
option
and
they
then putting
have,
like
right?
terminal clean
Basically.
out in,
I mean,
and
You could, but
Maybe
you
I'll
could
do that.
also do it the way, put a
What
shut-off
he's
valve
saying
in
though
there.
is
That
that
way,
they
if
don't
there
have
is
the
any
permit,
issue
so he
one way
can't
or the
issue
other, you got a
penalties.
way of controlling it.
But yet.
I don't
He
like
said,
to do
no,
that,
he said he
but-
could do something with the
Yeah.
Clean Streams
Yeah,
Act.
he could.
They can give him
Yeah.
penalties now
They
for the
can
Clean
issue penalties.
Clean
Because he
Streams
said that
Act.
as of the 15th, if he doesn't submit a permit, he will petition the court to enforce the order from DEP. So he's talking out of both sides of his mouth off because he says he can't enforce it, and then there he says he is
Well,
gonna enforce it.
the Commonwealth Court would issue the order, the judge would issue the order. Not DEP.
Just say Susan has the recording on there.
Yeah,
We'll
I'd like
get a copy of that. Maybe a copy of that for Dennis, please.
How long was he here?
An hour. An hour. Anybody have anything else for Ben?
I'll double check and make sure that we didn't run a grinder pump evaluation on that. I know we did a while back. We looked at possibly connecting that to the existing line, and it wasn't going to work. And that's how we found out we had probably four EDUs left. Maybe one at the very end, and then I think one at a midpoint, and then two more were available right near the school that the school obviously got. But I didn't remember ever running one where we had the right of way, because we just got the right of way a year ago, maybe a little more than that.
Yeah, about a year and a half.
I don't remember running one since then. So.
Yeah.
And then I'll get you a map. Going back to Sunshine Hills, I'll get you a map once I talk to my survey guy and say this is about what we'd be able to get in a day, and then you guys can decide. And what I'll do is I'll send an email around and decide whether exactly.
How about,
Sam.
why don't we just authorize him to do what he can get in a day?
Heading down towards Butcher Shop.
Yeah.
Was the primary
You
list.
get more than
On,
that.
on Eisenhower Boulevard, all right?
Okay.
And the leg that goes off to on Butcher Shop Road. You know which one I mean? The one that goes down over the hill there.
Yeah, I think there's a right of way that runs the
Yeah,
way down.
yeah. And if you can get more than that in a day's time,
Just keep on going down
just
that
keep
road.
on going until until you work your day in.
Okay.
All right? And then figure out, once you come back and tell us what you have, then we can work from there. But we'll authorize one day of survey.
If I can swing it too, I'll try to do a longer day. That way we can do as much as we can. He won't be happy with that.
Don't matter if it's 2 days worth of surveying, it's still gonna get used later on, so it's not an issue, you know, I
It's
mean, if
gonna
he's
change.
set up, and he's got marks and monuments before they disappear, it might pay to do 2 days too, I don't know, it's not.
Why don't we just authorize him to
One
do that
setup
survey
fee.
for the thing, whatever it takes him, it takes him.
You mean the crossroads and everything?
Everything. I mean, we're gonna need to do it. It's not gonna change.
You're right, it's not gonna change.
It's not gonna change. Yeah, go ahead and do it. You all right? You all right with that?
Mm-hmm.
You guys? Yeah, go ahead and do it.
Probably getting a one call soon. I like to do, some companies don't like to do one calls before they survey for some reason. They like to do the one calls after in the middle of the design, and then like the gas companies, things like that, will send out information to you and you can put it on your plans. I would much rather survey the marks they put out there because they're probably pretty close. I mean, we don't guarantee the marks; they guarantee the marks because they put them there. But you can survey them while you're there. Why try to add them to the plans later? And that drives me crazy, and a lot of people don't like to do that. I don't know why.
Well, don't be looking for Penn Municipal before you put in water lines down there for you.
Yeah, I want them within, at least within a foot. I think
I'm
within
gonna
a
give
foot
them
we're
to
all
you
right.
within a foot, all right? You want them within a foot. Yeah. Okay. Anybody have anything else for Ben? You have anything else for us?
I think that's it for now.
Have a
We'll
safe
start
trip
going
to
on survey.
Gettysburg. Get home before 10 o'clock.
And I'll get pulled over again. Started off the new year right yesterday.
Oh.
Happy New Year. Here's a moving violation.
All right. Mr. Chisholm.
No, Jody. I think Jody.
I'm sorry.
Let's go back to
we
her.
already asked Jody.
Yeah, but I thought she was waiting for the solicitor. He wasn't here at the time.
Well, we're not down here. We're in a week. We'll pick him up.
Okay.
Unless you want to talk to him now.
I'm fine.
Okay.
I do have one question. The conditional use for the MW2 was contingent upon sewer maintenance. How did that get through? No permits.
I didn't even hear your question, so.
The MW2 property, the ward property that you're talking about?
Okay.
In June, when they had the conditional use hearing for that property, it was, one of the conditions was that the sewer was maintained and looked into. Now, it hasn't had permits for 12 years, so that means they
6
haven't been
years.
doing anything with
6
it?
years. 6 years.
So they misrepresented on the township side that it was.
Somebody misrepresented it somewhere, yes.
I'm glad that wasn't your motion, Cece.
Thank you, I will check on that.
It's the June 27th minutes, I just pulled it up.
Okay, thank you.
Ben, be careful.
I will. Thank you.
Thanks, Ben.
Maybe so If I could, I have not had a chance to complete my review of the sewer issue or the porta potty sewer issue at that fire company property, so rather than holding Jody here to hear me say that in 20 minutes, I can say it now. I still have a few things to look at. I do have some information, but not everything I need.
We had an extension on that, right?
There was a recommendation to the board, but the board meeting got canceled, so we're
All right, so
up to
the Board of
January 7th.
Supervisors didn't act on that CC?
No.
Okay.
No.
All right. Can we have another month on it? Since it didn't get acted on this month, can we, 60 days from the time you enacted? Can we make a request that it's 60 days from the time the Board of Supervisors approve it? As opposed to 60 days from when we recommended it?
Or just table that until after the supervisors meeting. Discuss, I mean, there's nothing to act on now. Why not wait?
But it wasn't acted on at the end of the December meeting, correct? We asked at the beginning of December, but it wasn't acted on at the end of the December meeting, correct?
Right, because there was no actual meeting.
Right.
Right.
Now, we're not gonna do it until the end of January.
7th of January, next Monday.
Oh,
Reorg.
next month, okay. All
Reorg,
right. Okay. It will be addressed on the 7th then?
as far as I know.
Okay.
Dennis, have you, just one other thing, have you had any conversation with Rich?
No.
Okay, because it's my understanding Rich sent correspondence to the tenant giving his opinion, which is kind of alarming to me that I thought the two boards were gonna wait for the solicitors to interact. I didn't get a copy of it tonight, I just heard from the tenant today that Solicitor Wagner had issued an opinion to him via letter. I'm trying to obtain a copy of that, but I haven't received it yet.
No, I have not spoken to Rich.
Okay.
Okay. You're up.
Nothing to report from the operator's point of view. If there's any questions from the authority, please feel free. If none exists, then I need to know from the Planning Commission, Pat, has there been any communications between the Warden Group, the Warden property, and the municipal authority?
You're saying Stonebridge?
Yeah,
Or
Stone
Mill?
Mill.
To my knowledge, none. Not since our last,
Trotman was here last.
yes, not since the last
To
time.
tell you that he was not going to be representing them.
That was the last thing we've heard from Stone Mill.
Because they're up for another time extension
And that's the last we heard from Stone
before
Mill
the
was
Planning
whenever,
Commission. month.
Forrest was here and told us he would no longer be representing them. We have not heard anything at all from them. I have not. And I don't think, Susan or Karen had heard anything either.
No.
Possibly a brief letter. It wouldn't be too difficult from the authority saying the last communication about progressing with the project was on such and such a date.
Susan, could you get Karen to write that?
All right. You want a letter from the authority to whom?
The Municipal Planning Commission? Because the Planning Commission's not going to continue to recommend time extensions on the Warden property, they were being continued for progression, recommended to the supervisors because of negotiations with the municipal authority. Now, their next request for a time extension will have to have a goal to be achieved during this time extension. I'd like to have something at the planning commission level that we can stand on in making a recommendation to the supervisors.
So you just want to know when the last time was we discussed it with them? They were here.
Yes,
Okay, that's a very simple letter.
okay.
I will sign that if she wants to, if she doesn't want to. Make it
Otherwise, I'll be
fine.
sitting there saying, well, I attended an authority meeting, but as far as I know, they didn't talk about it. Well, it's not very concise for making a recommendation, or not making a recommendation.
We can get it to you,
Okay.
yes.
If there's nothing else for me, I'm gonna go. If you have something else you want me to stick around for, I'll be glad to do that too.
Anybody have anything else for Edward?
Not specifically for Ed, but am I missing the folder with like his reports and any correspondence? I didn't see it.
I didn't issue a report because I didn't have anything to say.
No, with your DMRs and,
Oh, they should have been in the
It should be in the
What's-
the inbox.
circulating file.
They didn't
What's the file?
This is mine.
What's underneath you, Susan?
Oh, that's my DeKoven file.
It's still above, I bet you it's still above the, and this
In the
is,
office?
there's another folder in that one, there you have that.
No, that's taxes. I put the taxes because it's fourth quarter.
Good catch. Thank you. You were ready. You tried them all? No, I don't think it was an unpleasant deal, but he did try to.
it was leaning that way.
He knows what we're saying.
That's right.
The red is yours,
I threw a little coal out there and you wrote it.
Thank you.
I threw a little coal out there and then you wrote it.
Yeah.
Doesn't take a whole lot sometimes. Thank you, Susan. But no, I had nothing specifically.
Anybody have anything
Sorry.
else for Ed? Do you have anything for Ed? Have a good evening. And thank you for taking your time and coming up here.
No problem. You'll find out that the Cove DMR has gotten a lot more complicated. There's some Chesapeake Bay questions and different things involved in that I'll be quite honest with you, I'm still trying to get a handle on. And John prepares those reports as part of what he does with, as the backup operator. So any questions on those, feel free. We're still, DEP's satisfied with them, to the best of my knowledge. But I'm not satisfied that we have 100% on there's like 6 new pages to it.
Is that part of the MS4 permit, or is that totally unrelated to that?
I think it's totally unrelated to that.
Oh, good gosh. Because of all the hoops that we had to jump through with that.
Yeah.
Wow.
When the new permit to operate the plant was issued, it was issued with temporary guidelines, which are now coming into play. That the temporary aspect in the middle, the interim is gone and the permanent is in place. Along with that came a lot of new stuff. So let me preface that with, it may seem incomplete, but it's not. Some of the information is not there yet because it's not been generated yet. It will be
Okay.
when it's required to be.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, that makes sense.
But we're including the pages.
Yeah.
It's not gonna work.
Okay, thank you.
And if you think that one's bad, you ought to see the new one for Paradise.
Front
Oh,
page got
really?
my attention right
Oh,
up front.
no.
I mean,
Yeah.
he's back to his old ways again.
But if you have any questions on that, CC, now or later, it doesn't
Okay.
matter.
Alright.
I mean, that's getting pretty substantial.
Mhm. Anything else, Roger? Have a good evening, Mr. Chisholm.
Pretty sure there's nothing else you want?
All I have is that water leak and those the three issues with the grinder pumps and stuff down there, you know, so I think we're all right. Okay?
Yes.
Field service report. So written here in front of you, I have 4 things that I have highlighted here. In the middle of the page is respond to an alarming grinder pump report at 1435 State Road for a property belongs to Louis Beamer. Upon investigation, discovered that the duplex grinder pump would be completely clogged with grease buildup. Removed the pumps and cold water septic, removed the grease and pump and replaced those 2 pumps. Replaced those 2 pumps. Now, if you see the attached sheet in the back, I have something on there regarding 1435 State Road. Actually, it's 1433A, 1433B, 1435, and 1437 State Road. It's an apartment building. All right? That wet well was completely full of grease. As a matter of fact, it almost looked like a casting mold. You know, like a pool. It just around the pumps. It was that much in it. Walters came that first day, pumped it out, could not get it all. He's come back. He says, "I'll have to come back tomorrow." He says, "I'll bring a piece of equipment that I'll guarantee will take this out of here." Okay, he brought it back. He came the next day, and we're still working on the repairs. But he came the next day, and he had a thing that looked like a post hole digger with a motor on the top, a long shaft with a motorboat propeller on it. Stuck it down in there, started up, and he stuck it down in there, and he gave it gas, and it churned everything up and chewed everything up and broke it all up until it broke one of the blades off his propeller. That's how bad it was. We got it all out of there, put the pumps back in it, and it still would not pump. The line going from the grinder pump to the main was plugged full of grease. So Jetback came again with their line, and they jetted that line out to get it on, put it back together, and now it's working. So now, that's one thing here. Now, another thing that goes along with that was the repair. But during the repair, I find out that there is actually 4 units in that apartment. There are 4 apartments there. And investigation here, we find out now there's only 3 of them that are legal connection, that have legal connection permit. The 4th one was created clandestinely, and it's no permit was requested. No notification was given to either the township or Penn Township Municipal Authority. That's been at least a year. So now we're going to take these one at a time. How do we want to handle that? Now, what I would like to see done, we need to bill Mr. Beamer for the 4th connection. My opinion, we need to bill Mr. Beamer $60 a month for the entire year for that connection. Can we do that?
You treated the sewage, right?
He used it. We treated it.
Well, then there's something you're not aware of,
Tell me what?
because he's only being billed for one of those 4.
He's only being billed for one.
Yes. I told you I found the connection report from 07, and I put down, at that time there were 3 units, 14, 33, 35, and 37. And I questioned Irene, 3 EDUs, and I wrote a note on there, thank God, that said no, 1 EDU. So that's what we've been billing for, 1 EDU. Now, he took 1433 when he bought it, and he
told me he closed a door.
He made 2 apartments.
Right.
Greg Miller paid one of the. Greg Miller paid for one of them, and
the
then
other
at
side.
settlement, 2 more were purchased. So Greg Miller bought 1435, I guess. That's the way it's listed on the connection permits.
Okay.
At settlement, they paid $4,240 back on March of '07. In '04 is when Greg Miller bought one. In '07, when Greg Miller sold them, 2 more were purchased, which would cover 33 and 30, all 3 of them.
And it's- Okay,
So they're kind of like, but then all of a sudden, one unit was divided in half. So he does owe 1 connection,
now, if we're
tap
going
fee,
to.
but he owes for 3. He's only paying us for 3 sewer bills. 2 of them are across the street. One is the Salon Indigo. One is the other house, Bob Jerry Johnson's old house.
Yeah.
He's paying $60 a month for each of those, and he's paying $60 a month for
I
1435.
thought he was not paying $60 a month for the second one across the street.
No,
No.
he's not.
The
He's
vacant
paying
one
for
is not.
Salon Indigo
Yes?
and then the next house up. He bought Jerry Johnson's old house, not part of the Berdanier.
Oh, he didn't buy Archie's house.
You have a duplex pump in Archie's house.
Right,
Okay.
but it's
That
a,
Archie's house is serving the old service
Right.
station, which is now the,
So he owns Mom and Dad's house too.
yeah, and
Okay.
then he had
Okay.
the.
So then there's 3 on that side of the road.
right, but one of them's not occupied
Okay.
yet,
All
so
right.
that's okay.
All
That
right.
side of the road's
That's just
okay.
clearing it in my mind. Go ahead,
Yeah.
continue.
But over at Miller's property, where there are 4 apartments,
Right,
he's paying for 1.
that's right, and that's because Irene said 1 EDU, not 3 So that's why I've only been buying, and I've never even paid any more attention to it until this whole thing opened
That
up.
goes clear back to the installation of this
that
sewer.
was-
My God, those people have lived there for years.
It was 2007 when it was inspected. It was inspected in February of 2007, and the inspection diagram shows the setback part of the house and the other part as 2 units. And I kind of copied where the duplex sits here. But I had written up on the top 3 EDUs with a question mark, and then I have a note. Irene says no, 1 EDU.
Are these, is this
Mr.
one
Fields,
building? that
Yes.
is-
One building,
So
yes.
it's one physical connection, or is it?
One
4?
physical connection coming out of the building.
Okay, but there's
And
4
it's-
units.
And it's served by a duplex grinder pump.
Okay, so it's a common,
It's a common,
Wow.
yeah, coming in, yes.
although the building is owned by one owner.
That's correct.
Okay, so these are apartments.
That's correct.
Mr. Field Service Rep, I think you need to get down and have a discussion with, Mr.
Already
Beamer.
did.
And what's he say,
Already did.
okay?
Well,
Bring me up to speed.
No, not really. Not really. Contacted Louis Beamer regarding the duplex grinder pump. The property's under one roof and 4 apartments. We already been yada, 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 we've been down that route. Told him about the grease buildup. I mentioned to him the fact that the apartment building, when connected, was only for 3 units and now has 4 units. An additional connection fee of $3,600 would be required for an EDU. Also, an apartment unit was only being billed for the total of 2 EDUs, which I'm really wrong, I was mistaken, it was
Only
1
billed for
EDU.
one.
All right. And it was caused either incorrect information received from a previous ownership or clerical error within the authority office. Either way. In either case, an additional 2 EDU rental will be assessed for future billings. Actually, it's going to be 3 additional EDUs. All right. Mr. Beamer's not happy to receive this information, and he had many questions. I asked him to come up here so we can discuss it at this meeting, and he's not here. So, I did
Send
talk.
him a bill and he'll show up, I'll bet you.
Well,
When she
I'm
wanted to
gonna
bill
say,
us for
since it's the
4
beginning of the year, we
EDUs.
definitely wanna start off with everything on the right book. Okay?
We need to charge, that's what I'm saying. We need to charge him for 1 additional EDU.
$3,500.
All year long. That's $3,600.
No, 3,500 is your tap fee.
$3,500. All right, he used it all year long. We need to charge him an additional $60 $60 a month for that year and the use of that EDU, because that's the one that was clandestinely approved. The other ones, I'm willing to say were our fault.
We have to eat that cost.
I'm willing to say they were our fault.
Do we need any kind of
But we need to pick
proof
them
of
up
date?
this month.
But we need to bill him
To be
now
able
for
to
4
charge him for a
EDUs
year.
for that building.
Well, how do we know when it was occupied, the other unit?
We don't,
That
because Helen
fourth
doesn't
one.
have a, Helen said he never came
They
in
never,
and,
he never did a,
he never got a permit from her.
Right, so how can we bill for a year if he says, oh no, they were only here 8 months, or
Well,
whatever?
let him prove it.
Where did the year come from? Is that just,
He said he's been in there and.
oh, he said that.
Said he's, did not give me a year, but said her lease is about to run out.
Oh, it could have been a 6-month lease, I mean, we don't know.
Let him prove to us that it was not a year.
But I just see a potential legal battle coming there.
Let him prove to us it's not a year. I'm willing to sit back and talk to him, but for right now, I'm gonna say it's a year.
He's not here talking to us.
He's not here.
Gotta get his attention anyhow.
Yeah, that's
You
for
know?
sure.
See where it goes.
But he definitely
I
should
mean,
be
I
billed
agree
for
with,
4
I agree with
EDUs.
the error that we had.
Oh, yeah,
I mean,
Oh,
pick it
that's
up from now on and
ridiculous.
move on, okay?
we gotta eat that.
I mean, don't,
Craig Miller, Macy Miller, and that apartment
But-
upstairs were there for years.
the other,
Oh, it's been since we put that system in down there, how long has it been?
Well, it was in 504 that Greg bought the first EDU. Now, that was at a discount. We put the system in 2006.
Yeah, okay, from 6 to, that's
Now, when
that's 6 years.
he bought it in, I don't know when he bought it. I don't know when Mr. Beamer bought it. I'd have to start going back and look just through the old billing records and see when.
but the last unit here, I agree with you.
And I'm thinking we need to bill him for 4.
Yes,
EDUs.
sure,
Four
from now on.
EDUs
Yes.
from this date forward,
Yes.
Absolutely.
all right? We need to get the tapping fee for the
fourth one.
fourth one. Bill him for a year on that one, see what shakes out. And from the day forward, bill him for 4 EDUs for that unit.
Well, it's
Tell him we don't have no records of
reasonable.
it being hooked into the system. We know it's on.
We know it's on.
It's reasonable
Definitely
to
know it's
assume
on.
a year.
Does he know that this is the first and only time that this pump gets serviced?
I mean, I'm just trying to avoid.
Yeah.
Wow,
Wow,
this
legal
becomes his
fees.
responsibility because it's,
No, it's not.
It's
You have residential, done residential. That's an extra thing you guys need to start talking about. Do you want to make ownership,
That's the only way.
give up ownership of anything on a duplex?
I never saw.
Any multi-unit residences?
Let that fall the same as the non-residential,
yeah.
you mean?
Yeah, because really, this is residential, so it doesn't fall under none.
Right.
So now you need to add another-
Multi-unit, just-
And decide how many units.
You have precedents at
I mean, that- as far as I'm
Shorty's
concerned, that
townhouse.
was our fault.
That's
I mean,
true.
She pointed
That's
it
been
out
turned
to the
over
existing,
to the
Right,
owner.
that's
secretary,
true.
the existing secretary.
But that was in their
said no.
agreement, but
Yeah.
still there's
All
a,
right.
That's our fault.
That's true.
yes, and I didn't question her because
No.
I didn't question
And as I say,
Irene.
that's our fault. But if it
That's
happens
fine.
from now on, you
It
know.
is our fault.
It is our fault.
Damn,
Yes,
Greg Miller's place, you don't have a grinder pump in for that?
Greg Miller's
Yeah, that's
place?
what we're
That's what
talking
we're
about.
talking about.
I know, but you got the apartment house, which is a brick building, it has 3 apartments in it.
4.
There's the frame building on the end of the brick building, it has 2 apartments in it.
So there's 6 there?
Well, that's where,
5.
there's no way that you had the 2 downstairs apartments and the upstairs apartment in the brick building. He wasn't gonna make another apartment in the brick building. That was the old bar room. Now, the frame building on the end with the old dance floor, where there were 2, where you could possibly have 2 apartments in there. Now, I'm thinking that building had its own separate grinder pump. Because you only have 1 connection coming out of the brick building, don't you?
Yeah.
Maybe.
But you got 3 apartments on
I
that
only
line
saw
coming
1
out.
grinder pump down
One grinder, there's only no grinder
there.
pump
1
on that?
duplex unit coming down there.
Maybe we better
There's
take
no
it.
grinder pump on Greg Miller's house, at home.
Site
But I can't
inspection.
imagine how the plumbing.
Yes, site inspection, no questions asked.
I can't envision the plumbing coming from that far kitchen and bathroom
It,
across to.
I wonder
the
where that
building.
goes.
Yeah. I'm thinking you got a grinder pump up there on, what Greg Miller lived in, the mother, and then
I'm wondering whether you
The
want
mother
to
lived
not
in
do
there.
anything at all until you complete an investigation.
So you're thinking that there is another grinder pump
Well,
somewhere?
there might be more to
Do we
it.
have
I
a-
hate to send one
Mr.
batch
Chairman,
of correspondence
do we
out
have
and
a
have
meeting
to
next
follow it
Tuesday?
up.
Not
No.
next Tuesday,
JOAC?
the 10th.
Following.
Monday,
Okay.
Monday
the
the 14th.
Monday
14th.
the 14th, that is correct.
So
Well,
we can take action on
We can take
this
action
then.
on that then, okay? I will, my honest opinion, I'm starting to have a concern about whether that one unit is even hooked up.
From what he's telling me, I'm wondering the same thing.
I have
me
a
too
feeling it's
now.
not,
From
okay?
what I'm, you know, I didn't realize that.
So, I think that there's, needs to be an intensive inspection, and if we can't get in, then we need to go, what's the proper channels if we're
Yeah, can
not
Sam
welcome?
even go can Sam even go on the property?
I can
What-
call,
what's
I
our-
can
what's
call
our
Mr.
legal
Beamer.
options?
I can call Mr. Beamer and ask him if he can give us a site inspection of the place. If he says no, then I'm gonna
Then
call
you're gonna have
you.
to call him, yeah, we may have to go a different route there. And
Okay.
I hope we wouldn't have to get an injunction, but we,
Greg Miller was
That's
paying
what we
a
have to
separate
do,
sewer
that's what we
bill
have to
as
do.
opposed to each mother?
See, that, I don't know any of that. I'm looking at this
Additional bills for rental then going back.
on the construction map,
we
it said there was a
better wait and get
1433 and a 1435.
Yeah.
Greg Miller
Because anything that's illegal, I would
paid
say,
somebody,
we treat
and maybe it was his mother, back in '04 when the discount period
Can you go
was.
with me when I do that?
They paid
Well, whenever I
for one of
find
them.
it's convenient for him.
And then in '07, there was a settlement check
All
that
right.
got attached that in for 2 more. Okay?
Where your
But
flag, Jack?
when I finally saw what this place looks like and it weaves all in and out,
All right.
but I don't know where Greg Miller lived. You're
He lived in the
asking.
frame. He lived in
Yeah.
the frame end toward the,
Toward
Yeah.
yeah, that end of the house. And you said there's
I ain't
2
going
in there,
anywhere
Bob.
without the 9
Yeah, when you
millimeter.
go on the porch, you open the door and go into a little foyer that you go in the door to the, on this side and you go in the door to the other side.
I'll contact Mr. Beamer and set up an appointment.
But talk to Ed. Ed's parents used to live there.
Well, yeah, but that was how many years ago?
Well, but
I'll talk to him, find out what we got right now, find out where we're at, and this is where we're at.
let me ask another question about where did all this grease come from?
There's 4 units and there's no grease traps, and we do not require a grease trap at a residential establishment.
But still, what are they cooking?
So wouldn't that be unusual to have,
Oh, hell yeah, as far as I'm concerned.
even if it's 4
Oh, yeah.
residential units?
Yeah, we don't even see that at a restaurant,
There's no business being operated there that we know of.
not that I know of.
There's another question.
I asked Sam to find out what kind of soap they're using. I didn't wanna buy that soap.
That's right. Must not be Ivory.
That's, I mean, it's a heck of a thing. Now, do we have anything else that we need to do with that unit? Do a site inspection and hopefully get it done before the JOAC meeting.
Don't tell Louis you talked to me. Talking to Louis is like talking to a married man.
Tell me about
Oh,
it.
great.
He was already having a heart attack whenever I told him what we were looking at here.
Well, he's on a shoestring for sure.
Yeah. 1623 State Road is Karen Brocious or Cuddly Bear. That's on the other page too. Yeah, it used to be
Used to
Cuddly
be.
Bear.
Oilers.
Oilers. You know where Oilers is? Huh? Right across the street from the Appalachian Card Lot.
Oh, okay.
The big stone place with the
Big
little
stone.
motel, it
Yeah,
used to be a
alright.
motel in the back.
All right. They called us because the highlight was on and the pump wasn't working. Pulled the pump and it was jammed with a cotton-like material. The guy that pulled it out here told me what he thought it was, and I'm not going to go there, but it was a cotton-like material. All right. And also noticed a rather large buildup of gritty material in the bottom of the wet well. All right. The tenant repeatedly asked him, "Does it look like drywall?"
Oh, my God.
All right.
Well, they don't flush it.
Okay. A side note to that one. There may be an outstanding invoice to this address from an earlier incident failure to a shoelace type material jamming the cutter.
I remember when we
It
sent
was,
her,
yeah.
I remember
That
they-
shoelace was the second
or the third.
or the third, I'm not too sure, but this is a habitual one.
So we're gonna bill him?
Yep.
I would say so.
We need your invoice and whoever else you brought in for it. Who else went in?
Linker.
Okay. So should I do that once Sam gets me his hours and?
Well, and there's a second part to this that I want to go to. So if they haven't paid the first one,
Oh.
if they have not paid that first one, they still think it's an outstanding invoice that they have not paid.
Okay, we have to research and
If that's the case, then how are we going to handle that?
add it to it.
Yeah, with late fees.
That one dropped
we
through
have
the.
provisions
That
for
one would
that?
have dropped through. That one dropped through the cracks. These invoices get sent and then I don't know. Anyway, and that's been a while. That would be before Karen. So.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it, this is definitely more than they're definitely billed for it 100%, it's justifiable in my mind.
Okay.
It's not the first visit.
No.
Did you explain to Mr. Beamer that this is, after the first visit, he's accountable for all other costs?
No, we will not. We will not. We're going to go someplace else from out here.
We're gonna change this.
After I'm done, I want to go someplace else here and ask your opinion. Now follow up the alarm grinder pump at 1135 State Road. That's Bill Donady's place. That's a yellow and green building on the lower side of the fire company. All right. Placed one of the grinder pumps. All right. That's on the back too.
That's the one with the risers on.
Yes. All right. That was jammed with a baby wipe. All right.
Is that first offense?
Yes, for the baby wipe. However, there's an INI, constant INI, and there Mr. Donady was made aware of that existing INI a few months ago, and it's still there. Just needed to bring that to your attention. Now, where I wanted to go with this, what I was going to suggest or what I was going to ask is, would the municipal authority be open to entertain thoughts of changing the maintenance responsibilities from back to the property owner on apartment buildings, as opposed to keeping them here with us.
Yeah, we
Now,
were just
bear in
discussing
mind, there are a few apartment buildings out there that do not cause us a problem whatsoever. All right? I can't think of their name right now. I had the tip on my tongue.
We did it with commercial.
Yeah, we did it with commercials. Behind Dino's.
Decker.
Deckers, thank you. Thank you. No problems with Deckers whatsoever. None whatsoever. So, if we do this, we want to bear in mind, there might be some in there that we're going to hurt. Personally, those two that I just mentioned, the 1435 and 1623, I just soon see the maintenance of those two units turned over to them because they are a habitual offender.
The only bad part about that is we would have never found out the issues that were going on down there at 1433.
You're absolutely right. You're right. I don't know. That's why I'm asking you whether you want to think about that and bring it back. There's nothing that says we have to make a decision tonight, but ponder it and see what you want to do.
Okay.
But there's some things in there. I don't think it's fair. Once again, I don't think it's right for the people who are paying their bills on a constant basis,
I agree.
keeping them paid up, and then having to pay for somebody that flushes a shoestring or
their drywall.
right.
Well, and they are being charged for that one. So.
If they pay.
Now, what do we do with that grit at the bottom of that pump? Tell them to pump it out?
Oh, that wasn't pumped out yet?
No.
Oh, I thought that was just part of what you guys had done,
No.
because we were gonna send them the bill for that too.
Mhm. Suggest to them that they call Walters or Bakers and have them come in and clean it out? Are we justified in doing that?
I think you, yeah, certainly make that suggestion.
Is that a consensus that we want to do that? Add it to the letter and tell them we strongly suggest, or we urge you, or we want to see a receipt, or how do we want to how do we put any teeth into that?
Because if we say we require you to have this pumped out, we have nothing in writing that says that that has to be done. So we can't really say that we require them to do that.
Yeah, we require them and you require a
Is there
receipt.
something in the rights, rules, and regs that would require them to clean that out?
I don't know, but
No.
there is items in the rates, rules, and regs as to what you can flush and what you can't flush.
Well, it seems to me if it's down there and it shouldn't be down there, that either you remove it and charge them or require them to remove it. I think you can require them to remove it and give you proof.
Well, or you could just tell them, you remove that, and I don't know how you want to word it, but you remove that and pay for the removal, or we will have it removed and bill you for that service.
I mean, could that cause problems in the future?
I don't know. We've had nothing but problems with these people anyway.
Well, it's not supposed to be there, so
Well,
it
let's-
can't be necessarily a good thing.
Let me show you something.
Let's do some thinking about how we wanna do this, but my question I got right now is we definitely ought to get down through and verify that
That's,
all these places have the proper amount of rental units in them.
And there was questions at one point in time that there was supposed to be an additional EDU in that building. Was never paid for, never rented.
No, they're paying for 4.
But there was supposedly there was a disgruntled tenant in there one time about 2 years ago that said that there was another one in there up in the attic.
No, she was just talking about herself upstairs. Karen was saying there was only one in the house, and the tenant came in and said, "No, I live upstairs." So there's 2 in the house and 2 in the back, and that's been okay. They are being billed for 4.
All right.
This is the one down.
This is Oilers, Cuddly Bear.
All right. Now go along with my.
I'm talking about the one down with the
Yeah. No, this is we popped off of that one back further.
Yeah,
We can back up. Field representative report again. We found a leak at the entrance to Petersburg Commons, a water leak at the entrance to Petersburg Commons. The repairs for that leak have been scheduled for Saturday. Mr. Holman, pay attention. The repairs for that have been scheduled for Saturday morning.
I'm very much aware of that.
Okay.
And it's good because the water bill from Duncannon last month was $300. The water bill from Duncannon this month was $576, and the water bill next month is going to be $576 because it's been another month of it. So you're
Took
paying.
us a while to find it.
You're paying a big.
And then
Yeah.
we found it at a bad time, the holiday season. So we're going to fix it Saturday. Okay? That is all your field representative has. Anybody have anything else for him?
You had a busy month.
I had a terrible month.
Man, dumb question, when you're coming up with the repairs on these grinder pumps, you have a list of qualified people they can call in and if you'll accept their work?
We use, if you have names of anybody, you submit them to us. We use Lenker Excavating out of Enola, pretty much exclusively to make those repairs.
But what you're up against is the typical homeowner, when it comes down and it blows up and there they are, what do I do? You're gonna be the first one they're gonna call and wanna know who or what.
Right.
We did have a list a couple months ago, maybe longer.
You can use NOS Plumbing. You can use Lenker Excavating.
There was somebody
Who was the
else.
other one? There was another one,
Um,
and I can't remember who that other one is right now. But there is some in there.
Harbolt? Or doesn't he do them?
No, he doesn't do them.
But I would suggest, you know, you have up with available people call, they're gonna.
They're, yeah.
But
But
they're gonna have to
Bob,
call around and
for,
find who's
for,
available.
for the most part, the residential grinder pumps, they're doing them right. They call us, all right?
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
we take care of that. Now this one here at Miller's or
Right.
Dewey Beamer,
Yeah.
the tenant called Philadelphia, E1 in Philadelphia. E1 in Philadelphia called us.
Okay, they got the number, he got the number off the GP.
That's
So-
like the OnStar in the car.
Inside the box, yeah, inside the box is a phone number.
Yeah,
If they call that phone number, they're gonna call us,
there you go.
okay? So, we just cut out the middleman when they call us.
Yeah, we had one wreck where the guy in the car walked away from the wreck, and when he come back, the fire company was sitting there, OnStar called us.
Mhm.
He come back with his buddy to help get him up out of the
Yeah,
bank.
yeah. But anyway, that's where we are, so that's all I have. Anybody have anything else? Master meter reports are in the book. I don't have anything out of the ordinary there with those.
No report, we didn't have a meeting?
Dennis?
I don't think I have anything other than what we've already talked about.
I like these reports.
I'm really on a roll now.
So are you at the delinquent reports? You see them there.
Yep, you got it.
Read it and wait.
Well, the water's gone down.
Sewer went up.
Yeah, but you never see the total.
You're saying delinquent accounts.
Yeah.
One thing I sat down and I did today is I highlighted some. And I got a little note over here. We got 18 people on this list owe $47,904.53. You look at the back, our total delinquencies are $73,000. So 18 people owe more than half of what we're looking at here. I have them highlighted here, and the ones that are over $1,000 or a combination of over $1,000 combination water and sewer. I think the municipal authority, I hate like hell to say this, I think the municipal authority needs to get a little bit firmer with their collections on this. If there's, we're looking at an individual here owes us $2,893.07 in sewer and $1,211.95 in water. And all it says is new lien by Dennis, and in the other one it says liens applied, new lien by Dennis.
Right, because it's.
That's a considerable amount of money. Can we go?
Well, you have a thing that says $850 sheriff sale. Boom.
Dennis,
Yes,
you looking at this?
I'm not, but I will. I got it now.
955. That's been that way for a long time. Underneath explanations.
Yeah,
What's that mean?
That means he appealed
yeah,
it.
he appealed.
Okay, what happened? Is it still being appealed or what?
Yeah, it's still
Okay, so all it's
being
doing is just
appealed.
dragging this thing out.
I think that's the one that I felt we should just file a lien and not fool with the appeal. Actually, there were two of them, and one of them got paid. And I think they're making payments on this one.
Okay. But I'm kind of like with Sam. I mean, some of these,
Yeah, they're getting-
some of these larger ones, we need to.
Send a note from Dennis saying we're going to put them
Yeah,
up for sheriff sale.
Let me get with Karen on these and, where they're over, we'll start getting the process.
You started, You made the motion, $850.
There you have it.
It's-
I mean,
You want mine?
Yeah, take it.
All right, yeah, it's getting a little,
Now, there is, here, this guy's bankruptcy
well,
protected.
that's right.
All
I
right,
mean,
and there is,
Couple sheriff sales are on
a
here.
couple that here's a sure sale by other.
And that'll be coming up here
All right.
this month, late
And this
this
guy
month.
has made payments, you know, the
Right.
ones that are making payments, you know.
Understood. Let me get
The
down.
the
through
ones
them
that are
now.
totally ignoring us and running it up, we need to get their attention. I hate like heck to do it, but we need to get their attention, and it's not fair to the people who are paying their bills.
it's not. I
Do
mean,
I
even the agreement letters ain't even working, really.
No.
Do I remember right, Sam, that first one that you mentioned that had water, outstanding water and outstanding sewer? That was on the radar before, and then there was a
I'm
bankruptcy
talking,
filing.
I'm talking 723. All right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
That's the one I'm talking about.
Yeah, that was somewhere on there, yeah.
Okay, there was a bankruptcy deal
Mhm.
there before, and then that kind of went away.
Mhm.
Now, whatever
I don't
happened.
She's
recall
walked away
that.
from this house now. This is the one where the leak was.
Yeah, she
Right.
did, and she has there's a big mortgage.
They walked away from it in September of last year.
There's a big
They
mortgage.
just
and
flat walked away from it.
I think they foreclosed. I'll pull these together and go over them with Karen, and we'll come up with.
Well, you look at 724, that was paid down and it's back up again. Him and no.
Oh, look at
no,
91.
no, I'm
91.
sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, it's not that one, I'm talking 605.
605 and 91, yeah,
Yeah.
they were in behind for a
605
while,
and
paid it
90.
off,
Yeah,
now
look
they're
at
back up.
Yeah, and I'm gonna make a suggestion that Dennis combines the two lists.
Mhm.
And.
You mean the water and sewer?
The
Yeah.
water and
Okay.
sewer.
Yeah.
And if this gentleman
If
is.
the total is over.
The totals of the two. If they're over, file.
Okay. So it's 850?
Yep.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, I mean.
Well,
And just for your information, this list is being requested every month as a rate to know. Yes, so it's being requested by Mr.
We have been.
Mr.
we have-
Gerner or whatever his name
We
is.
have been requested on numerous occasions to provide this and to provide how we're trying to address it. I mean, hate like heck to, but you gotta do something.
Yeah.
You have to do something. I mean, it's tough and it's tough all around, but there's a lot of people that are paying, and I think some people's gotta have their priorities readjusted. We done with,
Yep, I'm done with
we
them.
done with the delinquent accounts? How about the monthly invoices?
You paid the fourth quarter O&M, that added 10,000 on. That's the quarterly charge. Lab testing was high, but Ed said that was SOCs. The other, Lenkers, I heard you talking about one of those bills. Is there something wrong with one of them, or?
Well, it's high because he drags his feet. No.
Well, but at least we got them in during the year. Last year, we ended up paying in January for,
Yeah, I understand that, but my problem is he's,
yeah.
Hits us all at once.
I
Yeah,
saw
he-
that too. Now, I did tell Sam I'm going to make a mental note. When I see on his report that Lenker was somewhere, I'm going to start making it a point to call Lenker and say, I see that you did such and such, please send me a bill.
It's
Okay.
simple. Tell him 90 days or he ain't getting paid after that. Then he'll start writing a check out. Tell him we got documented the service.
Don't count on it. Is any of that amount
That's free.
reimbursable?
You know what? Two of those grinder pumps from down at, with the grease could be.
Is that part of this?
What grease?
For would they be
They're-
for Rosius? Because he's that. Otherwise, Beamer was the first time.
Yeah.
Another thing, I got a check here with Walters down here at the bottom where it says for this 1433 and
Mhm.
all right. That's I don't think that includes a jet vac, and I got to check that bill. You know, we can do it later on.
Yeah.
Check that bill, and especially if we're going to. Well, no, we're not going to charge him for
No,
it.
but it should be on these last
It should be, yeah.
Should be under.
Yeah. All right. Can I have a motion to pay the bills?
Make a motion, pay the bills.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Okay.
Financial report.
Financial report, you ended up in the whole, well, you ended up with 151,000 less than you had at the beginning of the year, but your expenses were high, what can I say? With that note, at the very last thing of your packet today is a 2012 budget update to the very best of my ability until any kind of corrections or adjustments are made by the auditor. Back to this, you have $141,000. That's the top right-hand corner of the back sheet. Your operating expenses that are available is $141,562. You have $244,000 that you have earmarked. Some is escrow accounts, 4 escrow accounts, plus this money that you've put aside for Sunshine Hill, $233,000. Then you have an additional $242,000 available in project reserves. So those 3 amounts add up to your $628,000. And then
Any questions for Susan on the financial report?
I broke down what you spent out of your project reserves and how it came up to be $137,000.
I'll make a motion that we accept the financial report subject to audit.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Does she have an executive secretary report in there?
I don't think she's been doing one, but I see she gave everybody a copy of the tapping fee installment payments.
Yeah, I got some questions.
Okay. Go ahead.
Looking on the tapping fees, second from the bottom, and then you go back to your delinquents. Okay?
Mhm.
We agreed to be decent on that. Is that still making payments?
I asked the same question today.
And Karen had already left, and I don't know that he came in December. But he had been coming in once a month. And if he hasn't come in, it's only been 2 months. Okay?
But that was part of the agreement.
That was part
we
of the
would
agreement
stop.
that he had to come, yes.
And when you look at the last payment date on the tapping fee.
Well, okay. You're right.
These tapping fees are getting behind too. We need to pick up on that. That's the other thing I'm getting at. Dennis needs to open up with that again.
I can see 3 there that are.
Well, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 of them that are above the 2,600. Or what was the original tapping?
26.
26, yeah.
Well, there's 1.
Well, I can
there's
see
2,
6 of them. It
there's
hasn't been
3,
anything done on for
4,
at least 3 months.
Yeah, but I'm looking
5.
at
Yeah.
the 3 oldest.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
6. Yeah, I'm seeing 6 that, 3 months or longer. And they're the ones we need to be.
And granted, we gave them a 20-year paying.
If they're the one, they're never gonna pay them off.
Absolutely, absolutely. I would like to make a suggestion that we stop being a bank.
Well, that's already written down somewhere. That's part of your rules and regs
Well, let's send
now.
a letter out to these people that Congress has cut our taxes so they can take that money and pay their bills.
Yeah. Cut our taxes.
Yeah, they did. They cut our
Our
taxes.
Yeah, why is mine going up?
I'm just
I'll
took more
review-
off of Sam's
review those.
paycheck.
Please,
Sharon, so-
send letters accordingly. Anybody past 6 months or I see one there, yeah.
I can sign these now.
Yeah, anybody that hasn't done anything for the last 3 months, send them a letter.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Wake them up.
Yep.
And then we're going down through there. JOAC meeting is January 14th at 6:30 p.m. Duncannon Borough Office.
Won't be there.
You're not going to be there?
No.
Okay. You're on vacation again.
Going to the Caribbean.
Jeez. That's
Warm
all you
weather.
do.
Going to warm
That's all
weather.
you do.
You wanna go along? That's what happens.
That's all right, you wait in March, he might not be here, so.
All right. Periodicals incoming and all that other good stuff.
I guess you
You're
need me
signing,
there in
okay, right?
January.
I'm sorry?
Do I need to start coming to those meetings? I was hoping that.
Up there, it's my understanding that they do the note taking and provide all.
For the
that
JOAC.
For the JOAC.
So you're gonna start holding meetings afterwards, or you're gonna make me come out for?
Oh, that would be bad, wouldn't it?
How about just coming for this January meeting, because we're gonna discuss some things on that.
Okay, and then how about if I show you how to use a tape recorder, because you're paying me to come, you know?
She's tough.
She is, isn't she? Yeah, we'll get her to teach.
All right,
teach
I'll be at
somebody
the
to do it.
January 14th, but I don't,
Alright.
okay.
All right.
I'll be there.
Old business.
I guess I
Anybody?
can
Yeah.
walk if I have to.
On the old business, the uninstalled lateral down on Railroad Street, that's still on hold until they get things squared away at the school.
That's probably not gonna happen till spring from the sounds of it. I was at the last school board meeting and stuff, but they're in the process of moving things along.
I had
and
asked Karen to send Miss, what's her name, a letter.
She's not involved in it. This is directly
She's
to the
not?
school now. The school's
Alright.
took it over. The cost of it went 3 times as much. Oh, it just changed all over the mess. So the school's in charge of the whole operation. So the school
No
district's
point in
the one
calling
that
Terry
needs-
Onsbach.
The schools, the band boosters are out of it. It's that
Okay.
simple.
Okay. CDBG grant application, we still working on that. And anytime anybody wants to come up and look over what we got and help us out on that, sure would appreciate it. Newsletter, the article is due January 18th.
Who's writing that now?
Well, you had asked Karen to, no, I think you told Karen to, I think the last time you had asked Karen to come up with things, but I don't know what to put in it.
I mean, the only thing we can do is we've had some folks here, explain to everybody that after the first
It's getting
offense,
close. I don't know exactly when
give
it's
them a
due. It is
reminder,
close.
you know what I'm saying?
For the-
Oh, okay, for
the
grinder
newsletter.
pumps, the first call's free.
Well, you
Okay.
had an idea what you were gonna do, didn't you?
Yeah.
Okay.
When is 2013?
And you may want to make a note that any time that there's any, I don't know how you want to word it, in regards to changes or modifications to the complex, it needs to be done through the proper protocols for the inspection, so
What are we talking
you understand what I'm trying to get at.
If you're converting your dwelling into an apartment building, make sure you go contact the township for a building permit.
Yes.
Mhm.
I think that would be very valuable to put in there, or something pertaining to those directions, you know what I'm saying? I mean,
Well, they have to go to the township first,
Yep.
so.
On, what is it called, non-typical use or something?
Non-conforming use.
Non-conforming use, anytime you apply for non-conforming use.
Well, no, but that would, no, but that's not what he's getting at. He's saying that just remind them that anytime they add an apartment, they've got to go to the township.
Yeah. And now I got something here on the new business, it's 1323 State Road, an abatement, that's Mary Ireland.
Yeah.
She said, she called me on Sunday and said that she moved out of the apartment, the electric's turned off, or not the apartment, out of the house, the electric is turned off, wanted to know how to turn off the sewer.
There
I
was a
said,
truck there.
can't turn off the sewer. And I think I gave her a phone number to call the office. Apparently she called the office.
No, he did, her son.
Her son. And if the water's off and it is winterized, he's asking for an abatement on that.
What's her plans for the building?
They're going to put it back on the market in the spring.
And sell it?
Yeah.
She
But-
moved
but
to
he's-
Susquehanna Apartments, I think.
He's got it winterized because he doesn't want to deal with it during the winter. So he got somebody to come in and,
Now, I can understand how whenever we abate them, because Duncannon has shut the water off because we're working through them for the water. What's to stop them from moving back in there, turning the electric back on and not notifying us?
Or go in there to work?
because you're going to
to
go in
get the
there and,
place ready.
because you're going to go in and lock the grinder pump.
Yep.
There's gotta be something you can do with that grinder pump, because we've done it on an occasion
I
or
can
two.
pull a grinder pump and take it out of there.
I thought you could put a lock on it so that they couldn't, I thought you could turn
can
it off
lock
and
the
put a
panel,
lock on
shut
it.
the breaker, turn the
Shut the
panel
breakers
off.
off and lock it off.
Lock it up, yep.
I can do that.
Yeah, that's the easiest, I mean, because I told him that. When he called and wanted to know what all could be done, he said, we're not gonna be using it, and I said, well, you know, somebody could throw a bucket of water down the commode. And, he said, what about the grinder pump? So, I said, well, you know.
I mean,
It's up to the authority. What do you-
I really don't think we
I mean,
want
even
to
if
pull
they
the
put a
grinder
bucket-
pump for at least 6 months.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I wouldn't say
And,
Whatever
I mean,
you can do
something
to
that I-
guarantee they're not gonna use it, I think,
Yeah.
there's something successful.
If there's some way to lock it, if there's some way to shut the
There
circuit
is a way to
breaker,
lock it.
that way when they use it, they're gonna pay the consequences.
There is a way to
Clean
lock
up than they
it. But
expected.
they're very, very small locks, and it doesn't take much to cut them off.
Well,
It's the same as the lock that they put on an electric meter. You could beat that electric meter every time you want to. All you gotta do is yank that thing off of there.
It's pretty
The
much
man
in
was
an
very-
open area.
yeah, the man was
And
very,
It's not like I'm not gonna see it. I drive by there every day, and I'm pretty observant that, you know, I did notice, I'm sitting there saying, I wonder what happened there. So you guys just
We
answered a
talked
question
about that
to
again
me.
today when we came by.
I mean, it's unusual, because
So
she
what's the
goes to
authority
church
wanna
and
do?
stuff.
What's the authority wanna do? I'm waiting.
Put a lock.
Put a lock on it.
Grant the abatement?
Yeah,
Consensus?
yeah.
For 6, do we want to put a time frame on it?
Well, what'd he say, spring?
he said he was gonna winterize it in the spring. I've got his phone number here, I'll, you know. I can put a tickler on that
I
one
would go
too.
maximum 12 months, but I wouldn't have a problem for 6.
No.
I mean, I'd
I
go
won't
for
do
an
that.
abatement of 6 months, and then
That
we'll
sounds
address
good.
it, we'll address it again at that time frame. How's that?
That sounds good.
Okay.
Why don't we just abate it on a monthly basis?
Yeah, 'cause spring's only, thank goodness, only, what, 3 months away?
Now, what do you mean by monthly basis? Every month we contact him and see if he needs more time? He had already said spring, so that's
Let's
gotta
put a
be at least 3
3-month on
months.
3 months and then contact.
Yeah.
Plus locking it, right?
Yeah. 1323. I'm gonna put something in your mailboxes. Susan and I were working on the possible bulk water rate for Donner's Trailer Park. I'll copy what we have. You guys look at it in your mailbox, and we can talk about it at our next meeting. Okay?
Are we, are our readings still reading pretty similar to what we were before? Or has it changed things?
There, sir?
Yeah, that whole area there.
There's pretty much, it's pretty much the same. It's going up this time because they've already turned their water on, you know, to keep it from
Right, I
freezing.
understand, yeah.
They'd rather pay the water bill than the electric bill.
Is that right?
And that's one of the reasons why I want to go this way. All right?
We're gonna basically take our water rate and just multiply it by 25. Okay, so they pay a base rate of $25 plus, times the 55. Now, there's only 23 lots, so Sam and I butted heads today, but on that same system, that line is also Herm Dimer's house and their house.
Oh, so there's your 25.
Right, but I could see where they may not want to pay for their dad's or for their own because it's a business. So what I will do is build the 2 houses separately and then subtract, kind of like a deduct meter, like I build Rohrbus or Stanley.
Another thing I want to think about too is along with the Daimler Trailer Park, we're getting the same types of instances at Petersburg Commons and some instances on the hill. So we might want to look at the consumption per quarter, the graduations there. I'm thinking we'll keep the minimum flow what it is. You don't want to punish the people that are conserving the water. Idea is to go get the ones that are abusing it,
Yeah.
and bump the the second, third, and fourth tier a couple bucks. I'll put the things out and you can look them over and see.
You know what might help too is if we started billing them on a monthly basis for water.
We want to pay Franklin or pay somebody another, how much,
Well, I'm just,
I mean, Duncan and
rather
Bird
than
does it. I
getting a
don't see the
$1,500 bill quarterly, maybe if she got a $500 bill.
$1,500 bill?
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah,
This
right.
is-
Today the
Right here,
total.
this is what it would cost them.
Her bill today was
It would
12.
cost them,
They used $1,200 worth of
for the
water this
quarter, it would
quarter.
cost her $1,854.53.
Oh, you mean just the high, not everybody?
But you know what?
No.
It'd be tough, because then we're gonna have to divide the $55 out into a monthly fee. So we'll just do it quarterly.
Yeah, no, not only that. If you're trying to get it, you're gonna have to pay somebody to read the meters. At least, what?
How much money does it cost to walk up for me to drive up to that hill and?
What are you paying Franklin to read the meters is what I'm saying. It's gonna go another 2/3. Follow me?
It should be cheaper because we just knocked 23 meters off his list. And we haven't talked about lowering his price. So his workload's decreased. So he had,
That's something we gotta look at then. I mean, that's something you gotta look at. If that happens, then you gotta look at it that way. That concludes my agenda. Anybody have anything else for the betterment of the organization?
I may give you a call on the way home. I forgot about this until we were talking about other stuff. I noticed this morning the red light was on the pump at Sheets.
At Sheets? Call Sheets?
Oh yeah, that's true. It's a non-residential. Okay.
and
Never mind.
they took over responsibility of that a long time ago.
Oh, I like that one.
Yeah, that was easy. Okay.
And as far as the budget for this year, we predicted a $38,000 deficit and we had a $39,000 deficit.
Yeah, that's pretty close.
So yeah, we were close. Penn, Perdix is killing you, but you're making those big payments. So
I told Mr. DEP what I thought about it was making us put that low pressure unit on down there for $6.5 million and not providing any funding or any assistance.
They don't care.
Yeah. No, but at least he knows how I feel.
no, I'll tell you. Did you have an adjournment?
No, I have a question. We got food for thought here. Next month's the magical month again. I think it's Elmer's turn.
For what?
Well, next
This
month.
chair-
You've been
this
in
chair
this
needs-
organization long enough.
Yeah.
It's time.
This chair needs to rotate.
You need to step up to the big boy's chair.
Change is bad.
So we can assume there'll be a motion there.
I'll make my motion, somebody else wanna make a motion, they can.
They'll still be in the Caribbean.
He's never coming back. Well, I just wanted to feel the chairman out to make sure that, I don't know where he's at either, so,
I got good days and bad days.
Oh, okay.
No, yeah, but is that with field representative or is that with being chairman?
Both.
Oh, okay. I was going to say more so with field rep.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You made the first one.
Yeah, I was going to say who made it.
Elmer.
Oh.
You
Okay.
didn't hear it? No, I did. Because he wanted to get off the subject I was talking about.
Happy New Year, Bob.
I hate bad about it is,